to the families of the victims and the families of the heroes, thank you. And, I've heard some people, and I know people being like, they worked in the financial business. You referenced the story of the secretary. The vast majority of people, they were not the ones that caused the economic collapse. Yeah. They're janitors, they're secretaries, their husbands, their wives. They are just trying to work and retire.
And there was, they talk about this one guy here, family's talking about this guy, and they're like, he wanted to be a history teacher. He took a job as a stockbroker because all of a sudden he had a family.
It's a job. You got to make money.
You got to make money. He wanted to put his kids through school, and it's like he was a history buff. And
how many temps died on 9/11?
Oh my God, so many.
Damn,
it's crazy.
Oh, just thinking about that. Like how many temps do we know? How many people do we know that do temp work?
Temps? No, they're actors. Actors, Marcus, please.
Can you imagine Nick Turner on the top floors of 9/11?
Oh, my goodness.
And we didn't even talk about Windows on the World, which they lost a stat. It was a restaurant at the top of the Trade Center. They lost 75 people, and they got calls from in there, and it just sounds horrifying.
So we're leading up to the anniversary of course, and we're going to be doing episodes about 9/11 up until the week of 9/11 to kind of talk about it. This is our tackling of the subject. Right. Next week's getting a little bit kookier, probably, but also to me just as serious because I believe that there are things tied to it. They used the events on 9/11 for very specific purposes.
Everyone,
I think it's important.
There are conspiracies, and there are definitely conspiracies. I wouldn't say it's an inside job, but I'd say that they definitely didn't mind that it happened.
Yes.
Looking at you, Mr. Cheney.
But I would say a thing about this, and a thing about what happened yesterday with the reporter and the cameraman, is that a thing that I've been kind of thinking about since all that kind of happened. I got kind of punched in the gut yesterday watching that footage and watching all this stuff about 9/11. Has really kind of torn up my life a little bit. And I think it's really important that when things are negative and when things are intense like this, I think it's very important to put love and productivity and positivity into the world. I do believe that those kind of vibes are the type of thing that help cure bad shit.
Is this you trying to tell people to watch your pretty faces going to hell?
Pretty face going to hell.
What's happening here?
Just laugh a little bit. Just relax and laugh. 12:15 on Adult Swim.
But yes, definitely going to get into the foreign policy ramifications and just it's so big. But I agree with Henry. Hug somebody that you hate today.
Hug somebody.
Everyone's just like, tell someone that you love them. If you hate somebody, just like be like, hey, 9/11.
Make love to somebody that you hate.
Well, I mean, make sure it's consensual. In that situation.
That's making love. I want to thank Sammy Coughlin and Megan Fierro-Root for their help on research this week. They really helped. I mean, this is such a gigantic subject. Both this and next week next week's even bigger. And also the third week. Woo, boy, this shit's going to get real weird on that one.
Yeah.
Well, thank everyone. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show and supporting the other shows here on CCR Top Hat Roundtable, page 7, Sex and Other Human Activities. It's just really, it means a lot.
Yeah. And follow lpontheleft.tumblr.com that we just created yesterday on Ed Gein's birthday. So, hi, Ed Gein, and happy birthday, Gein.
Happy birthday, Gein. Yeah. And put some titties up on that, because Tumblr's got titties, right?
Tumblr's got so many tits. Someone was telling me yesterday about a woman fucking diddling herself with a handgun.
Well, all right, very interesting.
That is great.
You can great tits though, from what I've been told, it's good tits.
Equalizing.
And also follow us on Twitter at LP on the Left, at Ben Kissel, at Henry Loves You, at Marcus Parks.
That's right.
And go join the Facebook group and go buy t-shirts at cavecomedyradio.com/merch.
Hail Satan, positive action beats the act of prayer.
All right, hail yourselves, everyone.
And also thanks everyone for listening to the end of our longest episode ever.
Hail me. It's long. Oh, yeah. It's got a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah, it's got a lot. Yeah, Megustalations.
Yeah, Megustalations.
For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to cavecomedyradio.com.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
All right, that's Marcus. I'm Kissel. With us as always.
Sunset Boulevard, Henry Zabrowski. This face made the pictures.
It did. It made them and broke them. Hey, have you had any good celebrity sightings recently, Henry?
You're just jumping right into this, man. It feels like I'm on the Tonight Show. This is amazing. Is this what it's like? Are you Johnny Carson?
Yeah, dude, I am back from the grave. I'm here to haunt your nightmares.
You're like Johnny Carson if Johnny Carson was sat on by a taxi driver for 25 years.
What are you talking about? That's insane.
Fucking jerkied. You're Johnny Carson if he was turned into fucking 7 feet of jerky.
That's very rude. My skin is nice. It's not dry at all. It's wet and moist.
I know this. I know. No, I have.
That is why your employer keeps fucking catching you jerking off and rubbing lotion all over yourself. You're too moist.
All right, take it easy. Take it easy. I get dry in the winter.
What I would have, the scream that would have come out of my mouth if I walked into my bathroom and I saw you using my expensive lotion all over your big, veiny, clotted legs.
All right, well, let's not get all Buffalo Bill over here. Yeah, apparently, you don't want to talk about your celebrity.
No.
Now it's all about me lathering up.
I was in between meetings.
In between taco stands.
So much power. But I sat next to a certain Mr. Gladiator, Russell Crowe himself. I sat next to Russell Crowe, and he smells like a bag of old kangaroo shit. He is disgusting.
I mean, what do you think he thought that you smelled like?
I mean, I smell like we were saying. I smell like baby powder.
Yeah. Do you think he picked up? And Hope?
Oh yeah, and I was eating an egg and bacon sandwich.
What was he eating?
Some salad.
Yeah. So he wasn't actually just eating kangaroo shit, as most Australian men do.
Australian men suck. They're big and they are smelly, and they can't get any place if they can't fucking surf there. And they're the fucking generation.
Oh my goodness! Come on, that's ridiculous.
The only people worse than the Irish.
Oh wow!
Wow. Yeah.
Hey Marcus, is that the meanest thing Henry's ever said about somebody?
Tropical Irish people.
Tropical Irish, the Australians?
All right. Yes.
All right. Well, speaking of stinky meat and sweaty men, today we're going to talk about Jim Jones, and both Henry and I are on Skype right now, so we're going to play you much of what Jim Jones said to his unbelievably captive audience.
Oh, very much so captive. Now, remember again, this is ramping up to their final moments. So whatever sort of convincing arguments that he would have had have already come and gone. Mm-hmm. These people are pretty much trapped. I think some people tried to escape, but mostly everybody that was involved in there died.
There was there was one old woman who was able to escape by hiding underneath a bed because she knew immediately when they did Code White Knight. Like, that was their number one code as far as everything's gone wrong, everything's shit. Code White Knight. So she heard that. She hid under the bed. And this was not the first time that he had declared Code White Knight. And he had already tested them once to see if they would do it. Like, he'd already done this whole spiel before to see if they would actually commit suicide. And it was, of course, a whole fake thing.
What were the true circumstances that led up to Code White Knight? Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. The true circumstances were that there was a congressman whose daughter, I believe his daughter was a part of the cult, and he went down with a couple of other family
to go
members.
Investigate it, yeah.
He went down with a couple of other family members whose family was in the cult just to investigate, just to see what was going on. And Jim Jones was at the very end of his rope at this point. He is doing a lot of coke. He was starting to lose control over everything, and he was just spiraling out of control. And this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And then people were passing notes to the congressman, because he hung out with them for a night. People were passing notes to the congressman. Yeah, get us out. Get us I want to leave right now.
How scared are you if you're that fucking congressman?
Oh,
how scared are you?
Terrified. Oh my God, so terrified.
I mean, especially because initially you get a note and you're like, oh, this is definitely a woman's phone number. She's a saucy Hollywood blonde. She wants to blow me. I'm a congressman. They're in the middle of nowhere. There's not a good fellow about.
Yeah, and there were 20 people around 20 people that eventually left with the congressman. There were two planes that were going out, and one of the planes actually got up off the ground, and there was a mole planted on that plane that planned to shoot the pilot in the head, but they were able to wrestle the gun away from him before he killed anybody on the plane. However, the second plane with the with the congressman, they sent. Well, there were also journalists out there. There was people from ABC News. There was a cameraman and I think a reporter and one other dude on that plane. One of the dudes was able to escape into the woods after the shooting started, but the congressman and all the journalists just got fucking riddled with bullets from assault rifles.
They did not do great.
And so that's what Jim Jones said. He did Code White Night, and he said the congressman is dead. We all have to kill ourselves because the government's going to come in here. They're going to slaughter all of the children. They're going to make life hell on earth for us. And of course, you'll hear all of this stuff in the tapes because it really is the last.
You'll hear all that stuff if you listen to Glenn Beck's new radio program.
Yeah,
this Cold White Night situation, it just reminds me of sort of a fire drill that might happen in school. You know.
Also,
used to do those
is that
all
not
the time.
Is it not the name of a Daniel Stern, Damon Wayans film, White Night? Right?
You're thinking of Black Knight, and it's Martin Lawrence.
I'm so sorry.
Please, Henry, that's ridiculous.
And you're saying this is the ramp up to it, but there were still people arguing against it almost all the way up until the end. And some people did have to be shot. And in fact, Jim Jones himself, I found out Jim Jones had to be shot in the head because he wouldn't take the Kool-Aid. Who
shot Jim Jones?
One of his followers. Because he couldn't do it. He couldn't commit suicide. He
was too much of a bitch to follow his own suicide pact?
Yep.
So did he order
ridiculous.
someone else to shoot him in the head?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good job to have, though. You know, after you shoot Jim Jones, you can pretty much just drop the gun and slowly walk away.
Yep. He killed himself immediately afterwards.
But that's a leader's job, is to delegate. When it comes down to it, he can't be doing all this stuff himself.
And if you'll listen on the tapes, if there's one thing that you'll notice, there's this weird music played throughout. This weird, like you can't really figure out what it is. It kind of sounds like organ music at some time. What it actually is that what someone had done, this whole thing was taped on reel-to-reels. Someone had taped over a Delphonics record.
That's horrible.
The Delphonics is an old soul group, and someone
seriously couldn't get a new tape, like for the moment.
So what you hear?
There were no new tapes.
Yeah, what you hear in the background
it's like when you're looking at an old VHS porno and it cuts to like family memories. It's like you jumping on a trampoline, your mother, sucking down tea.
Yeah. So what you hear in the background the whole time is an old Delphonics album played at half speed.
Wow.
Christ.
I mean, I feel like people in North Korea live the exact same life as the folks of Jonestown.
Oh, yeah. I mean, except, at least they had parties all the time and they have parades and stuff like that.
So you think if you had to choose between living in North Korea or living in Jonestown, knowing the way that Jonestown ends, you're sticking with Jonestown?
No. I'll go to North Korea.
Yeah.
Always
okay.
North Korea. Yeah, I can't take the heat of Africa. I'm going to fucking Africa.
It wasn't Africa. It was South America.
Same difference.
There is a world of difference.
But you know what I'm saying. But in terms of climate, it's the same thing. You know, and you got antelopes in both places.
Anywhere off of U.S. soil for Henry is just Africa. You should see him in Canada. It's absolutely confusing.
Yes. Oh, I hate it.
All these like African whites running around with their Canadian accents.
Where is the dreaded African moose?
Why is that fat American dressed like he's going on safari?
I'm cold. I haven't seen a single tiger here.
That's terrible.
I want my money back.
Yeah. I feel like you go on vacation and report back like every single Jewish grandmother reports back after vacation.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's just like, oh, very good, but so affordable.
Well, all right, guys. Well, let's get to the tape.
All right, buddy.
Enjoy yourselves. Be creeped out.
Jim Jones's Jonestown Massacre, and don't get convinced after listening to this. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
It's over. Yeah, the moment is past. It's not real anymore.
No one will respect you.
And I'll say, if my own experience is any gauge, that if you, for maximum enjoyment, get really stoned and look at pictures of the devil while you listen to this.
That's how we
Could
did
say
it.
that about anything.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. We're going to have a full episode coming up next. We've got a creepypasta episode, so wait around for that. But hey, in the meantime, here is the Jonestown Death Tape.
Yeah.
Hail yourselves.
How very much I've loved you. How very much I've tried my best to give you the good life. But in spite of all of that I've tried, a handful of our people, with their lies, have made our life impossible. There's no way to detach ourselves from what's happened today. Not only we're in a compound situation, not only are there those who have left and committed the betrayal of the century. Some have stolen children from others, and they're in pursuit right now to kill them because they stole their children. And we are sitting here waiting on a powder keg. I don't think this is what we want to do with our babies. I don't think that's what we had in mind to do with our babies. It was said by the greatest of prophets from time immemorial, no man takes my life from me, I lay my life down. So to sit here and wait for the catastrophe that's going to happen on that airplane, it's going to be a catastrophe. Almost happened here. Almost happened. The congressman was nearly killed here. But you can't steal people's children. You can't take off with people's children without expecting a violent reaction. And that's not so unfamiliar to us either. Even if we were Judeo-Christian, if we weren't communists, the world, the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violence shall take it by force. If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace. We've been so betrayed. We have been so terribly betrayed. But we tried, and as Jack Beam often said, I don't know where he's at right this moment. Where's Jack? He said, if this only worked one day, it was worthwhile. What's going to happen here in a matter of a few minutes is that one of those people on that plane is going to shoot the pilot. I know that. I didn't plan it, but I know it's going to happen. They're going to shoot that pilot, and down comes that plane into the jungle. And we had better not have any of our children left when it's over, because they'll parachute in here on us. I'm telling you just as plain as I know how to tell you, I've never lied to you. I never have lied to you. I know that's what's going to happen. That's what he intends to do. And he will do it. He'll do it. Fortunately, being so bewildered with many, many pressures on my brain, seeing all these people behave so treasonous, it was just too much for me to put together. But I now know what he was telling me, and it'll happen. If the plane gets in the air, even. So my opinion is that we be kind to children and be kind to seniors and take the portion like they used to take in ancient Greece and step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. We can't go back. They won't leave us alone. They're now going back to tell more lies, which means more congressmen, and there's no way we can survive. Anybody wish to? Anyone that has any dissenting opinion, please speak. Yes. You can have an opportunity, but if our children are left, we are going to have them butchered. We can make a strike, but we'll be striking against people that we don't want to strike against. We'd like to get the people who cause this stuff, and if some people here are prepared to know how to do that, to go in town and get Timothy Stone, but there's no plane. There's no plane. You can't catch a plane in time. He's responsible for it. He brought these people to us. He and Deanna Myrtle. But people in San Francisco will not be idle over this. They'll not take our death in vain, you know. Yes, Christine?
Is it too late for Russia?
Here's why it's too late for Russia. They killed. They started to kill. That's why it makes it too late for Russia. Otherwise, I'd said, Russia, you bet your life. But it's too late. I can't control these people. They're out there. They've gone with their guns, and it's too late. And once we kill anybody, at least that's the way I've always put my lot with you. If one of my people do something, it's me. Now they say I don't have to take the blame for this, but I don't live that way. They said deliver up Ujara, who tried to get the man back here. Ujara, whose mother has been lying on him and trying to break up this family, and they've all agreed to kill us by any means necessary. Do you think I'm going to deliver them, Ujara? Not on your life. No. No, you're not going. You're not going. You're not going. I can't live that way. I cannot live that way. I've lived for all, and I'll die for all. I've been living on hope for a long time, Christine, and I appreciate you've always been a very good agitator. I like agitation because you got to see two sides of one issue, two sides of a question. But what those people are going to get done, what they get through, will make our life worse than hell. Will make the Russians not accept us when they get through lying. They told so many lies between there and that truck that we are done in as far as any other alternative.
Well, I said let's make an airlift to Russia. That's what I say. I don't think nothing is impossible.
Well, how are we going to
believe it?
How are you going to airlift to Russia?
Well, I thought they said if we got in an emergency, they gave you a code to let them know.
No, they did. They gave us the code that they'd let us know of an issue, not us create an issue for them. They said if they saw the country coming down, they'd give us the code. They give us a code. You can check on there and see if it's on the code. You can check with Russia to see if they'll take us in immediately, otherwise we die. I don't know what else you say to these people. But to me, death is not a fearful thing. It's living that's treacherous. I have never seen anything like this before in my life. I've never seen people take the law and do in their own hands and provoke us and try to purposely agitate murder of children. There's no, Christine, it's not worth living like this. Not worth living like this.
I think that there were too few who left for 1,200 people to give them their lives for those people that left.
You know how many left?
20 odd. That's a small
20 odd.
Compared to what's here.
20 odd. But what's going to happen when they don't leave? I hope that they could leave, but what's going to happen when they don't leave?
You mean the people here?
Yeah, what's going to happen to us when they don't leave, when they get on the plane and the plane goes down?
I don't think it'll go down.
You don't think it'll go down? I wish I could tell you were right, but I'm right. There's one man there who blames, and rightfully so, Debbie Blakey for the murder of his mother, and he'll stop that pilot by any means necessary. He'll do it. That plane will come out of the air. There's no way you fly a plane without a pilot.
I wasn't speaking about that plane. I was speaking about the plane for us to go to Russia.
To Russia. Do you think Russia's going to want? No, not going to. We're not. You think Russia's going to want us with all this stigma? We had some value, but now we don't have any value.
Well, I don't see it like that. I mean, I feel like that as long as there's life, there's hope. That's my faith.
Well, everybody dies. Someplace that hope runs out because everybody dies. I haven't seen anybody yet that didn't die. And I like to choose my own kind of death for a change. I'm tired of being tormented to hell. That's what I'm tired of. Tired of it. 1,200 people's lives in my hands, and I certainly don't want your life in my hand. But I'm going to tell you, Christine, without me, life has no meaning. I'm the best friend you'll ever have. And once I have to pay, I'm standing with you, Jara. I'm standing with those people. They're part of me. I can detach myself. My attorney says detach myself. No. I never detached myself from any of your troubles. I've always taken your troubles right on my shoulders. And I'm not going to change that now. It's too late. I've been running too long. I'm not going to change now. Maybe the next time you get to go to Russia, the next time around. What I'm talking about now is in the dispensation of judgment. This is a revolutionary suicide council. I'm not talking about self-destruction. I'm talking about what we have no other road. I will take your call. We will put it to the Russians, and I can tell you the answer now because I'm a prophet. Call the Russians and tell them, see if they'll take us.
I said I'm afraid to die.
I don't think you are.
means.
I don't think you are.
But I look at our babies and I think they deserve to live.
I agree.
You know?
But also they deserve, what's more, they deserve peace.
We all came here for peace.
And have we had it?
No.
I tried to give it to you. I've laid down my life practically. I've practically died every day to give you peace. And you've still not had any peace. You look better than I've seen you in a long while, but it's still not the kind of peace that I wanted to give you. So, a person's a fool that continues to say that you're a winner when you're losing. Win one, lose two. What? I didn't hear you, ma'am. You have to speak up. That's a sweet thought. Who said that? Come on up and speak it again, honey. Come up and say it talk about it. It's taken off. No plane is taken off. It's suicide. They have done it. Stone has done it. Somebody ought to. Somebody. Can they talk? Can they not talk to San Francisco? See, the Stone does not get by with this infamy. This is infamy. He has done the thing he wanted to do. To have us destroyed.
When we destroy ourselves, we're defeated. We let the enemy defeat us.
Did you see I live to fight no more forever?
Yes, I saw that.
Did you not have some sense of pride and victory in that man?
Land, famous a land of lore he did not know would exist.
That's right.
And he crashed upon the beaches of the island, and then he decided to kill 2 million people for corn.
They were all killing each other anyway. Come on, people. So who's coming down on the side of Columbus here? You, Ben?
No! I have no idea. I'm just saying.
And it's not about Christopher Columbus. It's about the Pilgrims, you fucking idiots.
Whatever.
Christopher Columbus. He comes all the way from Italy, and don't you know? You say, and Christopher Columbus Columbus, of course.
Yeah.
You know, he went back to the king and queen at fucking France. I don't know where he was, Italy. I don't know
something like that.
history. I don't need to know the
No.
history. And he says like, oh, I tell you, if I was going to name a type of spaghetti, I would have called it rapioli.
I get it. That's very good. Okay.
Because I raped the girl.
Right, we understand. So the Pilgrims, they were very well-dressed murderers. Let's move on to H.H. Holmes, Part 3, another very well-dressed murderer.
Oh my God! So when we last left H.H., he had just murdered Julius Smith under the guise of an abortion for marriage exchange that Holmes had proposed.
Which is a very classic way to get married.
That's right.
So Julia would not be the last of Holmes's romantic conquests to meet their end in his murder castle. The next would be spotted not by Holmes, but by his shady assistant, Benjamin Pitezel. Now, as we mentioned last episode, Pitezel was an awful alcoholic, which naturally interfered with his duties as Holmes's second in command.
And also, he was a perfectly shaped goon, where he was tall, he was bald on the top and stringy long hair on the sides. He was missing a bunch of teeth, his face all sunken in, but he loved his family.
Like the butler from Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Riff Raff. Isn't his name Riff Raff?
Something like that.
Rascal?
So was Pitezel, was he shady or just extremely faded all the time? He was just always drunk. He was too intoxicated to really be manipulative or
he wasn't
cunning.
No, he wasn't manipulative or cunning at all. He was a total tool.
Yeah, he was a complete and total, completely, again, he's soused 24/7 and also in desperate need of money. And H.H. Holmes just kept being like, oh, ribbity-rib, here's another golden pocket watch. But first must you do is sign a letter saying that you're actually Theodore Bussell. It's all like weird old-timey flim-flams that Pitezel was just like, give me whatever I gotta do, fucking give me my ripple.
So H.H. Holmes was like Captain Spaulding, and this guy is like the idiot who pushes Chris Hardwick and the crew through the haunted house when they actually see H.H. Holmes.
Very much so. Yeah. Now, speaking of flim-flam, as Henry mentioned, Holmes, while a well-established flim-flam man in his own right, was also susceptible to other flim-flam men of the age. He believed that a man named Leslie Enroute Keeley had a cure-all for alcoholism and so sent Pitezel to Keeley's rehab facility. Keeley's solution was the so-called Gold Cure, a red, white, and blue concoction that he called the barber pole.
Also what Pitezel called his penis.
Yes, I was going to say, I could go for a couple of barber poles right about now.
The ingredients, aside from pure gold injected directly into the bloodstream, were a closely held secret.
And believe me, again, if any cure involves squirting a precious metal directly into your body,
right,
go with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's still what they do at Passages Malibu,
because that's what my mom used to do. Because whenever my mom would we would travel to go with because my mom doesn't really fly, but she'll go on trains and shit like that. She won't wear her jewelry because she's like, you never know when a con man's gonna try and take your jewelry from you, because every con man knows sleight of hand.
That's a good
and so
point.
It's like she really does believe. She believes that thieves are far more skilled than they actually are.
Right.
She does believe my mom is a Dickensian woman. She believes that everything is flim-flam men and sleight of hand artists and pickpockets. And so that's what she would do. She would hide her gold in a little pouch she would keep inside of her jacket. And what better way to hide your gold than just squirt it inside your own bloodstream?
That's a good point. Yes.
Should have did that with my mother.
Isn't that how they made Wolverine?
That's adamantium.
Yes.
And it's into his bones.
Isn't that something?
It's in his bones.
Or just do what they do in my family, and you get too fat so the ring doesn't come off your finger. And then you also can't even put your own hands in your pockets because the jeans are so tight. So for a con man, it's almost impossible.
Just be too fat to rob.
That's right.
So while Holmes did ostensibly send Pitezel to rehab to sober up, the more likely purpose behind Pitezel's trip was to steal Keeley's secret cure-all formula so Holmes could sell it himself. Again, Holmes always working an angle. Always got 5 or 6 scams in the air at one time.
It's kind of insane. As it really boils over, as we're going to see as we go through this episode, it's almost, he's just the psychopath.
Yeah.
He really was we always use Michael Jordan as an example. For this one, I'm going to say John Elway.
Whoa!
He's a real field general.
Yeah.
But bad at it. Where it's because John Elway never won a Super Bowl, right?
He did. Yeah. He beat the Green Bay Packers in 96?
His final last 2 years, he he won.
Is he gay?
Why is he gay?
That's Troy Aikman.
And he's probably not gay. But if you are gay, being quarterback is really a fun position because you got your hands on balls at least 30 times a day.
Yeah,
At
two
least.
sets of balls. You got 9 sits in front of them. You get to pick them. You're like, oh, yeah.
I want that one to be my
18
center.
grapefruits. Yeah.
Does the quarterback pick the center based? Okay, boys, bend over. You'll be my center.
Gay.
So not surprisingly, Peitzel did not return with the cure, but he did come back with a report that Keeley had in his employ the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, a woman named Emmeline Cigrand.
And now you know that she's beautiful in 1890s talk because the way she was described by Peitzel was as elegant and dewy. She was a dewy 24-year-old.
So did she smell like wet hay?
No, she was just like moist.
Dewy.
I was talking about this with my girlfriend. We're saying the same thing. It's like if you just get a woman physically moist, does that make her more like aroused in general?
Yes,
like
of
if you
course.
just like throw a bucket of water on her?
No, like
Or like push her outside in the rain?
No, spritz her. Either spritz her down while she's asleep, so she doesn't know, or run a humidifier at twice the speed.
She's not a cat. No. I don't think that does work.
So Holmes,
I guess I'll never know.
I don't think you will.
So Holmes, working on the description that Peitzel brought back and always on the lookout for some hot trim, started a correspondence with Miss Cigrand and eventually offered her a job as his personal secretary at twice what Keeley was paying her.
This guy had quite the game.
Yeah.
And it's also, I don't know if I can say I admire H.H. Holmes in this fact, but I will say over scams, he always chose Bush. He chose Bush first, so there was something about love in there, which I'm kind of into. It's like, and it wasn't about just killing him to fuck him. It wasn't like Ted Bundy or something like that, where he had to hear the screams in order to get hard. He was fucking him pre-murder as well. He was just into it.
Well, he's like the classic psychopath that will say anything. Like, they will say anything to get a woman to love them and to get a woman to give themselves over to them. That's why a psychopath is so dangerous.
I could see him crushing QVC. You know, just like being a Billy Mays type or the ShamWow guy.
To be honest, Fox News.
Fox News, he would crush anything where it's just full of lies. He will absolutely destroy it.
Because he just
you can make lies true.
Exactly, and he just gets pleasure out of the lie succeeding. Nothing else matters. But the problem is, again, with the psychopath, that pleasure is in and out.
But what is the truth? If you take an herbal medication that has absolutely no actual medicine in it, but it makes you feel better, does it work?
I mean, that is a very interesting concept about reality, which I, again, will say once more, if you change your perception, you can change your reality. And what you can use to change your perception? Ritual.
That's why, you can basically smoke anything, call it weed, and you'll get stoned.
I mean, sometimes it'll kill you.
Yeah, be careful.
Yeah, because sometimes being stoned is the feeling you get right before you're dead.
Right.
So Emmeline readily accepted his proposal to come work for him, and within just a few months, Holmes had seduced her. He asked her to marry him in November of 1892, and had most likely already decided to kill her before popping the question, because asking her to marry him was all part of the plan.
It's very interesting because, again, he gets something out of just her living this lie, and you're going to see it played out here. It's something about creating this idea that he's a normal man who's seducing a woman. It's like he laughs to himself that anybody would even believe that he's a normal man.
But it's also something he proves to himself he can do it. If he wanted to be normal, he could live that normal life in a heartbeat.
It's psychopathic behavior, because what he's doing, a lot of psychopaths just out there in the world, low-level psychopaths, really enjoy the ability to seduce a woman, to get them to fall madly in love with them, and then throw them away.
Entry-level psychopaths.
Entry-level psychopaths.
Temp psychopaths.
Temp. Not even getting paid for it, huh?
Yeah. H.H. Holmes, though, when he got bored of a woman, he killed her.
Hey, you know what? He's not right. I'm going to take back what I was going to say.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So Holmes's scheme to get away with this, he gave Emmeline a dozen
plain white envelopes and asked her to address them to her closest family and friends. He told her that he would, of course, have formal wedding announcements printed up later, but he just wanted to make sure everyone important in her life would get word that she was getting married to this wonderful man who, by the way, he told her to call her, I think it was Henry or Howard. I think he told her to call her Howard because he had an uncle that was a duke in England, and the only way that H.H. Holmes would inherit the money was if he took the name Howard.
So this is like the original Nigerian email scam?
Dude, yeah.
Absolutely. He's been doing it back in the day. And I remember and part of one of his other stipulations that he said to her, he's like, but I do hope that you're okay with a Mr. Peanut-themed wedding. And she was like, am I? Nothing I like better than a sophisticated peanut.
Yeah, Peanut's very popular.
Absolutely, especially one with little legs dancing around that doesn't scream when you shell him.
Mm-hmm. And they come in their own little suits.
So soon after addressing the envelopes, Holmes decided it's time for Emmeline to go, and her death is particularly horrifying.
Well, I mean, she was crazy dewy. Yeah. That's the thing. When you got someone that dewy, you can't just do it normal because she'll slide all over the place like a bar soap.
Yeah, he kept on asking her to plug in light bulbs and stuff like that, knowing that she'd just go up anytime.
I'm sorry, dear. I just happen to have these wet hands, but they're just not wet enough to zap me.
Dewy.
So while working in Holmes's third-floor office one day in December, Holmes asked his wife to go and retrieve some documents from inside his safe. And as soon as she walked inside, he quietly closed the door of the safe behind her.
A little bit farther? No, not that pile of documents. The farthest one. A little bit farther. A little bit farther. Don't listen to it. No, that creaking noise. Oh, I must have played my Halloween sound effects album earlier. I'm sorry. Just slam.
Well, what he wanted her to think was that it was all an accident. He didn't want immediate fear. He didn't want the slam. He wanted her to slowly realize that she was going to die.
Because he did this also with Julia Smythe, where he said, or Smith, however the fuck you pronounce that British last name. He kind of coddled her and said, oh, we'll be fine. And then he put her out and then killed her. Again, that game to keep playing it about how this guy, I mean, H.H. Holmes is an impressive psychopath. Yeah. It's like, the more you read about him and the more you really research him, he's like fucking Goebbels. He's like one of these guys where he's a mastermind of evil and just can't stop.
General Rommel.
The Desert Fox.
Yes, never charged with a war crime because everyone loved him so much. He was on the cover of Time magazine.
Yeah.
Anyway. Isn't it weird? I think didn't Kim Kardashian also go as the Desert Fox for a little bit until she realized it had the same nickname as a famous German Nazi army general,
and
whatever?
And the Nazis requested she change it.
So over the next few hours, Holmes listened through the door of the safe, vigorously masturbating just over and over and over again as Emmeline screamed and screamed until she finally ran out of oxygen and suffocated.
I mean, I'm getting going just sitting here thinking about it. I don't mean to be like this.
Yeah,
you shouldn't.
Oh, God, I got to stop saying it.
Yep. Those are the fetishes that are illegal.
Her skeleton was sold to LaSalle Medical School a few weeks later, and when police finally searched Holmes's castle, they would find a single footprint etched into the steel to the inside of the safe's door. Now, if you're asking how a small young woman could press hard enough on a steel door to leave her footprint, in a desperate attempt to save her life, she tried to push the door open with her foot, but Holmes, always the forward thinker, had covered the floor of the safe in acid to speed along the asphyxiation process, and the acid on her feet was more than enough to make the footprint permanent on the steel door.
So when you say acid, like a part of me does go to like Timothy Leary, being like, she's just like tripping nuts, being like, talking about tramps and thieves and stuff. What kind of acid?
Like chemical, sulfur. I don't know if it was
not trippy dippy fun acid.
No. Caustic acid. Yeah. Burning acid.
Again, this is what, you know who H.H. Holmes is? He's the Penguin. That's kind of what it's like. It's like he's got gadgets and things. He's kind of like the Riddler. He's not the Joker because the Joker's more cool, I guess. I don't know. He's a supervillain.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome in a horrible way.
He's a bit of all of them wrapped into one, huh?
Yeah, he's an absolute supervillain without a superhero to catch him. So Emmeline was actually quite a popular girl. She talked to a lot of people in the castle. She had a lot of friends, a lot of family, which was the reason why Holmes had her address the envelopes. After her disappearance, he took the envelopes that she had addressed herself in her own handwriting, typed up wedding announcements with another man's name in place of his own, and sent the announcements to Emily's family and friends, making them believe that she had run off suddenly with another man.
Damn.
And Emmeline's parents later said that after they hadn't heard from their daughter at all following the announcement, they just assumed that she had died in Europe or something.
Right.
And her new husband either didn't know their address or didn't care enough to inform them. Such were the times in America.
Foresight on H.H. Holmes is incredible.
It's amazing.
Well, he planned it out ahead of time, and now he had played the game so much. Again, we're going to see later on. It's like what these serial killers say. They plan out their kills
Right.
for weeks and weeks and weeks, and how they're going to do it, and how they're going to get out of it. And eventually, the thought process begins to fall apart because
they
right
go
now,
berserker mode.
Yeah, right now he's at the top of his game.
Well, the funny thing about H.H. Holmes is that he never goes into murder berserker mode. He goes
into flim-flam berserker mode.
Yeah, he goes into con berserker mode. He goes into crime berserker mode. As far as murder goes, his record's perfect. Like
like John Elway.
A little bit, yeah.
more like Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman never lost a Super Bowl.
Gay.
So while Holmes in modern times is most famous for being the so-called Devil in the White City, the World's Fair of 1893 would actually come at the end of Holmes' Chicago rampage. Now, as we said in the first episode, the 1893 World's Fair, or the World's Columbian Exposition as it was officially known, was up to that point the largest, most spectacular, and most hyped event that had ever happened in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of like Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, I love it when he sings Piano Man, but then he's so old he sings it again. Isn't that
He'll
funny?
sing Piano Man up to 7 times in concert.
I've heard that. Great concert. So, and this is where Tesla, introduces his big, invention of light and all that stuff. And true story, this is where the elephant ear was also invented.
The elephant ear?
Yeah, the great carnival snack. You don't know about the elephant ear?
And another day in fat long man history.
No, they funnel in all the it's piping hot dough, and then they put it into the oil.
Sometimes they take your elephant ear and they cover it in chili, and then there's a savory.
Is that all you learned about the 1893 World's Fair?
And I'm not even sure if it's true. I'm just saying. They had elephant ears. Very good. Great treat. Great treat.
So between May 1st and October 30th of 1893, over 27 million people attended the World's Fair, many of them out-of-towners, and all of them needed somewhere to stay. Now, in later confessions, Holmes claimed to have only killed one fairgoer during that entire summer, but certain accounts say that as many as 50 people who stayed at Holmes's castle during the World's Fair never came back from Chicago.
But again, we're going to cover. But again, we already covered the fact that people just leave and just don't come back.
Yeah, it was like 9/11 all the time.
The time.
You could just leave and just say like, I don't know, he just didn't come back. I guess he's dead.
Freedom. That's back when freedom was free.
Right.
And to further suspicion that he killed more than he claimed, Holmes always had room for a female guest during the World's Fair, but if any men came looking for a room, they were almost always told that there were no rooms available.
So even after he was caught, he never admitted to murdering the amount of people that he actually did. It's very different than somebody like the Texas fella that
Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah, who was just like, I killed 18,000 people.
But
by the end of it, they usually exaggerate, don't they?
It ranged all over the place.
So concerning those female guests, those who stayed at the castle long term, or those who worked for Holmes, noticed that he was particularly forgiving of young women who left suddenly without paying their bills, which happened a lot.
Yeah.
And while Holmes certainly had a hell of a lot of reasons for killing the women who worked for him, it is possible that soon before their deaths, these women, they just started wondering out loud, hey,
Why isn't Boss really all that bothered by all these unpaid bills?
And also, combined with the constant stench of chemicals surrounding Holmes must have led. At some point, some questions have to pop up.
Uncomfortable questions.
He's got greased chutes.
Yeah.
If your house has greased chutes in it, you're not. Unless you're getting apples from the attic to the basement real quick and you're just like, you know how rats love apples. And even that statement is ridiculous.
Yeah. Bunch of questions you would have to ask regarding, does he have Alzheimer's? Is there some sort of elderly disease happening?
Yeah, what's happening? And that there's just so many women just absolutely disappeared. Like we said in the last episode, there would just be like a whole room of clothes just left behind. And they would leave without paying their bills. And you know, people were going to ask questions, and the people who asked questions also ended up dead. So by the time the fair had come to town, Holmes had already decided that it was time to leave Chicago. His debts were mounting, and it was getting harder and harder to talk his way out of them. And in fact, some of his debtors were starting to consolidate.
Well, because he started realizing this guy's not paying anybody.
Yeah.
He started checking in with each other and like being like, "Did this guy pay you yet?" And they're like, "No." And because he hadn't paid for a thing.
He should have just filed for bankruptcy like a good old Donald Trump. They would have voted him for president.
He did pay for chloroform.
Oh, that's nice. That's right. He paid for everything that he really wanted.
Absolutely. It was like I was saying before, my problems with my debt consolidation is that when I talked to credit card people, and I was like, they were like, "You need to pay this money," and I was like, "Why?"
Yeah, why?
And they were like, "You need to pay this money." I was like, "Well, what do you do if I don't pay the money?" They're like, "You need to pay this money." And guess what I did? I didn't pay any of that money.
No, don't bother. You know what I do? I just go and I give them all the empty beer cans that I spent the money on, and I say, "That's good as cash." There you
It's
go.
good as cash.
Good as cash.
But Holmes, before he would leave Chicago, he had one last long con to finish off. That long con would end in double murder. The last woman close to Holmes to meet her fate in the murder castle would be a sweet, naive young girl named Minnie Williams. Now, Minnie wasn't quite as beautiful as Holmes's other victims.
Really? She's the best name.
Minnie Williams? Yeah, it's a cute. No, she was short, kind of doughy, real dumb. Yeah, real dumb. That's the quote in like multiple sources. Every time, the only quote anyone has to say about Minnie Williams, they just said, "You know, she didn't seem to know a great deal." That's all anyone had to say about Minnie.
But the one thing that she did have was a fucking heiress. She was an heiress who had a massive Texas fortune.
$3.5 million in today's money she was worth.
And if she's doughy, she probably tried those elephant ears.
But for Holmes, of course, the money was a big deal, but he knew that more than likely he wouldn't be able to get the money. But the one thing he could get from her was a very valuable plot of land in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. And had Holmes pulled off this particular plot to fruition, had he not started to go into flim-flam psycho mode later on, it is almost certain that this is where he would have built his second murder castle.
I mean, I feel like nowadays, again, we would look up to somebody like H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
You see flip that house all the time. It's like he's a realtor psycho killer. That's insane.
He's franchising out. I would love to watch him train in a new general manager in the Texas Fort Worth branch. So this is where I put the grease on the slides
the grease shoot.
The grease shoot.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, I gotta tell you, that's just good thinking because you don't know when a fat boy is gonna need to go from the attic to the basement.
Man, Mr. Holmes, you're just wonderful.
The only thing standing in the way of Holmes in the land was Minnie's sister, Nanny, who had a great deal more sense than her younger sister.
My name is Minnie, and this is Nanny.
I know.
I'm Nanny. I'm Minnie. Hi, you're Henry. I'm Nanny. I'm Minnie.
Yeah, it sounds.
Fuck both of you.
My goodness.
I'm worth $1 million. So am I. My name's Nanny.
It is, truly obnoxious.
So to take care of this little problem, Holmes invited Nanny to the World's Fair and took the two sisters every single night for a week straight. And then on July 4th, 1893, Holmes suffocated both of them in his bank vault one at a time without either one knowing what happened to the other.
Hi, I'm Nanny. Where's Minnie? I'm in here, Nanny. It's me, Minnie. Oh, I'm coming in there, Minnie, right after you because my name's Nanny. Oh, that's great to hear, Nanny. I'm Minnie.
You know,
hours.
They didn't know a whole bunch, but they knew each other's names, I guess.
Days after,
I will say H.H. Holmes at some point during this week, he just had to be like, God damn it. Will you shut up?
Shut up, Nanny. Shut up, Minnie.
Oh, God damn it.
Tension headaches of him just being like, is there something wrong, Henry? I'm Nanny. No, there's nothing wrong, Nanny. I've just got a bit of a tension headache. I think my top hat's on a bit too tight. I'm Minnie. You love me. And this is my sister, Nanny. Ooh, when is the fair over? You know, sometimes I'm just curious about what are the hours of the fair. I'm going to go check it out.
This is where he is really the victim. This was a tough week for H.H.
oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So days later, Holmes dropped by Benjamin Peitzel's house to present his wife dresses, shoes, hats, all the clothes that Holmes claimed were left to him by his cousin, who had suddenly got married and left the country.
But you can imagine, like, Peitzel giving the gifts to his wife, where he's just like,
Yeah.
here's your fucking dress, here's your fucking some shoes, fucking, I was gonna get you some more of these hats, but I put some booze in it and I ruined the fabric by drinking booze out of it. I ran out of cups. You bitch. I worked my whole life. Here's a garter belt.
Did I mention my blood's full of gold? Which is pretty cool. I mean, this is, it is dead people's clothes, but it's no different than what hipsters do here in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, when they go shopping at, at these thrift stores and whatnot. It's all corpses' clothes.
Oh, I own many dead men's clothes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People die in the clothes, and the EMTs go and snip it off of them, because EMTs are nothing but premature grave robbers.
That's right.
That's not true. They're brave.
They are needed, and they just failed a terrorist test here in the city, so we're not doing good with
What,
that.
by like being like, which is the bomb and which is a baby in a carriage?
Their radios don't work underground.
Jesus.
So that's kind of a problem. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We move on.
So the deed to the land in Fort Worth, Holmes kept to himself. And with this, Holmes's time in Chicago was almost at an end, but he would not leave town without one more Midwest romantic conquest. His last wife was named Georgina Yoke, and much like Murda Z. Belknap, it's a matter of debate as to whether Holmes actually felt something like love towards Georgina or if he just never got around to killing her. At any rate, Georgina would be one of the few women to survive a close relationship with H.H. Holmes.
What we're going to see later is I believe that Georgina just helped H.H. Holmes with his story. And in the end, in order to be a respectable businessman in this time and day, you had to be married.
Yeah,
and I think that knowing that you have a wife in tow wherever you go, and you can reference your wife and you have one, and you can cut to like what seems to be a normal family life, is a great... It's a great way to make someone feel at ease with you.
Dennis Rader, obviously the Green River. It's like these people had totally, theoretically stable families.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we mentioned in the first episode, Holmes had been toying with the idea of a life insurance switcheroo scam since medical school. And while Holmes claimed to have pulled it off before, we know for sure that he tried the scam in 1893, and who better to do it with than his trusted associate, Benjamin Peitzel.
So we're going to tell them, let's say, okay, we're going to fake my death and we'll tell them that, but what I was a famous horse trainer and I died trying to save a family from a fire.
You're a drunken idiot, but you might be onto something with that horse trainer line.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a horse trainer, but the problem is they're always looking at my boobs. Don't you look at my boobs, horse. I'll turn the damn lower half and the glue, and I'll take the glue and I'll turn it into a thing. I'll paste.
And now you derailed, and once again you derailed.
You tell me how am I to die?
So first, here's the scam in its entirety. First, Holmes would take out a large insurance policy on Peitzel, and after a few months, the two would acquire a cadaver and stage a death that would so badly disfigure the corpse that identification would be impossible. And after Holmes took care of the necessary bureaucratic rigmarole, the two would then split the payout of $10,000, which was over $250,000 in 2015 money. But that scheme would take a little bit of time to percolate, for they had doings to take care of down in Texas.
And the worst part is that H.H. Holmes put Peitzel in charge of paying his own health insurance premiums.
Oh, bad idea.
And
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
he would send money to Peitzel to pay the premiums, but then Peitzel would just spend the money on booze.
Right.
And so H.H. Holmes then had to keep up Peitzel's half of the scam all the time. So Peitzel, while H.H. Holmes is running all these other games, he has to go and make sure that Peitzel's paying his premiums. And we're going to find out is that right before the premium, it's like literally the whole insurance claim was about to be canceled, and H.H. Holmes had to swoop in and pay it, and literally the payment made it minutes beforehand, before it was like technically due. And that was one of the clues that they had ended up stringing together that the whole thing was a scam.
Obviously, you should not kill anybody. But isn't there something inside of you where
Nice
you're just
caveat,
like,
Ben.
Good, thank you.
But
Thank you, Ben.
what a time to be alive in a way. I mean, nowadays, you try to pull off a scam like that, there's a Detective Columbo coming to ask you a bunch of very interesting questions.
Yeah, these hard shoes and these long arms are coming out and good sniffing around my good time, Charlie's.
Back in the day, all you would have to do is cut off their ears, and then the detective would be like, well, nope, this person had ears. They do not have ears. That is not this person, so we're totally confused.
So after taking out the policy, Peitzel, Georgina, and H.H. set out for Texas to build a new life in downtown Fort Worth with the land that Holmes had scammed from many. So safely away from his creditors in Chicago, Holmes started all over again with Fort Worth using the exact same methods he had used to build his murder castle the first time. But, like with most people of Holmes's temperament, the need for more excitement got him into trouble. Inexplicably, Holmes and Peitzel tried their hands at horse thievery, which is a hanging offense in Texas.
It's just, of all of the scams,
Right.
stealing a horse, number one, is dangerous because horses are big.
Right.
And I don't even like voluntarily riding a horse. Everyone taking one against your will.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And they don't know anything about goddamn horses.
And a horse killed John Candy. Well, he had to ride a horse and he was obese.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Heart disease killed John Candy.
Well, but he died on a horse.
I'd say maybe horse steak killed John
yeah,
Candy.
could be. Well, I'm just saying.
So the two, of course, identified almost immediately as the culprits. They left Fort Worth in the middle of the night, never to return. They would resurface 6 months later in St. Louis.
It's a nice place, St. Louis. Oh, come on.
That's where Holmes would be arrested for the very first time, by the way, after trying out a pharmacy fraud. That old trick where he would buy things on credit. He would buy things on credit under an assumed name, sell all of the products, and then when the creditors came, would say, like, no, that's not me. I did not buy these things. This was Mr. Bilkey that bought all of those things. They saw right through it, and he landed in prison, and while in prison awaiting bail, Holmes would make the mistake that would eventually get him caught for good.
How old is he now at this point?
Oh, 32, 33, he's our age.
So he has just been, but the life expectancy back then wasn't as high as it is now.
Yeah, it was like 34.
So he's just like an elderly man, be like, never been caught yet. Why wouldn't he stop?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. He hasn't
Or why
even.
would he?
I mean, he hasn't necessarily been close to getting caught this entire time. Yeah, he's had creditors come at him, but he hasn't really had the law come at him yet.
Right.
Because he's been able to talk his way out of it, and he's also this whole time. There's all these investigators that have been coming to his murder castle, and he's been turning them away with the pat and a handshake.
Well, now
and so his
everything-
confidence is through the roof.
Right.
But nowadays, nobody trusts. Back in the day, they trusted you. No one believed that you were a liar or a psychopath.
Yeah.
They thought that it was like, oh, he'll get around to it. Because this was
Right.
like old-timey America when things were still pure. But that Lytle, we all know, there was a whole bunch of rape going on.
Yeah. And again, are people still obsessed in the States about what's happening in the UK and London with Jack the Ripper?
Oh no, that's long gone.
No,
long
it
gone.
pacified us. When we saw the Jack the Ripper stuff, that the whole thing was that the way the newspaper sold it was like, we'd never have anything like that
Right.
over here in the Congressional United States of America.
Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we killed how many millions of Indians with blankets?
Well, and at this time, this is when the Indian Wars were raging on. So we were really getting to the Indian killing at this point out in the Old West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone was killing each other.
When was Wounded Knee?
I like the tone that you said that.
Yeah.
When was the casino give out?
Well, what happened in
Wounded Knee was only 4 years before this.
No shit.
In Wounded Knee, they armed the prisoners. And then the prisoners got the Native Americans. They
Holy
gave them
shit.
weapons to fight other Native American tribes and to protect them against wildlife. And then the prisoners, the Native Americans, obviously used the guns against them.
This is how we treated the inventors of jerky.
Oh my God! Did Native Americans invented jerky?
I'll say it.
I'm 126 Cherokee.
What's that? Your pinky?
By the way, you're thinking of Little Bighorn. Wounded Knee is when we just shot all the women and children.
Yeah, whatever. Little Bighorn. I like that one better anyway.
Jesus, man.
What? That's a better name. What is wrong with you people?
What about Octopus Dog Hat? What about that brave battle of the Cherokee versus the congressional armies of the Alabamians?
I am very pro-Native American.
Inventors of jerky, struck down by Italians.
Mm-hmm. I'm 1/12 Native American.
So we're actually kind of in the Wild West, speaking of, at this point. For Holmes' cellmate was a man that Harold Schechter referred to as, quote,
an authentic desperado. Someone so audacious with his bodillery that one would assume that he was born to be an outlaw.
Thank you, Harold Schechter.
You're the best, Harold.
So this man that was in the cell with H.H. Holmes, his name was Marion Hedgepeth, a.k.a. the Handsome Bandit.
And he actually was very handsome. And he was handsome. Not like they say H.H. Holmes was handsome.
Yeah.
This guy actually was handsome. And this is very interesting. This is also a trait of psychopaths. He was bragging about his crimes and his abilities because literally he wanted the validation from another famous criminal.
Yeah, he was struck by the celebrity because what he wanted was there was this bad man, and he was famous because this was a time in America where the Wild West criminal was a celebrity.
Yeah, nothing's changed, has it?
No. Not really. It actually hasn't.
Caitlyn Jenner's Woman of the Year, and she fucking killed a bunch of people.
Just one.
And of course, H.H. wanted to impress the outlaw who rode with such desperate men as James, Illinois Jimmy Francis, and Lucius Dink Wilson.
Oh, man. Illinois is just a bad nickname. That's just where the dude's from.
Illinois Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean...
Actually, I think it was just his favorite state.
Yeah, it could be.
Dink was just because he couldn't tie his shoes and he had a fucking pot of soup for a hat.
Oh. Like, not like better than going inside the train.
Nice hat, though.
So at any rate, Holmes needed one last person to pull off his insurance scam, a crooked lawyer to broker the whole thing, and Holmes figured if any man knew a crooked lawyer, it would be the Handsome Bandit. So Holmes offered Hedgepeth $500 for his help in the scheme and was put in touch with a man named Jephthah D. Howe. And as soon as Holmes was sprung from St. Louis, Holmes grabbed Peitzel and headed to Philly. Now, Peitzel, who had moved his whole family, including his wife and their 5 children, to St. Louis for the duration of the insurance scheme, left town on July 29th, 1894, after letting Carey in on the scheme. Peitzel never saw his wife or their children ever again.
And it's actually a very sad story because they were talking about how he came home drunk. After they solidified the plans, because now the plan is that he was going to go and pretend to be a patent maker, like a patent clerk in this area town. He's going to set up shop, and then he was going to be blown up in a fake explosion because he was an inventor. He came home drunk one night before leaving town, and it's the only time that, because he told his oldest daughter who came in, and he was there like lolling in the kitchen, totally hammered, and turned to her, and it was like, if you see the stories of my death in the newspaper, it's a lie. It's a lie. And it's like, it's very sad. Because it's true, because then they all had to play along in order for the quote-unquote insurance scam to work.
Right. But Alice, actually, when she heard about it, she did still, like, she had her suspicions that her father was still alive. She later on thought, like, oh, now I remember that it was a lie. But when she first heard it, she did believe that her father was actually dead.
Drunks are always saying random things.
Yeah, and that's what it was, that the drunk, like, she's like, yeah, Dad used to come home drunk and say stupid bullshit all the time. So 2 months later, after
Peitzel left St. Louis. His burned and decaying body would be found on the floor of the rented patent clerk's office in Philadelphia, discovered by a neighbor who had been talking to him about patenting some sort of new saw that he had invented.
It was some kind of saw thing. It was a flim-flam machine.
Yeah,
He
it was another
bringing him in there.
flim-flam machine.
Yeah, and again, Peitzel had become immediately known in that small little area where he had set up shop as a drunk. He just showed up, and his whole thing was like, I'm staying sober, I'm staying with it, I'm staying straight, and on the racer's edge, because I am a part of a very complicated insurance scam. Is that bourbon?
Is that what does that taste like?
And so this was all part of the plan. Holmes, who had never intended to split the proceeds with Peitzel, had killed the man with chloroform and had staged his body to look like Peitzel died in an explosion when he lit his pipe too close to a vat of chemicals.
Which is a ludicrous idea to begin with. It is ludicrously elaborate. There's many different ways you can kill somebody and dismember the face.
1893, a known drunk. It seems like something he might do.
No, you just topple over. He had 3 possessions. You topple over the desk, you make the chair slightly askew, and you beat his face in, and then it looks like a robbery.
I'm actually going to say H.H. had a better idea, Henry.
I don't think
He's
so.
a drunkard. I need my smoke. He lights his smoke, and the whole thing goes up.
That
I
makes
can
no
see it happen.
sense.
It could happen.
Well, it was this was kind of at the beginning of forensic police work, because one of the police on the scene, he actually said, like, he looked at it, was like, wait a minute, when a body is faced with an explosion, the limbs get very mussed up. Everything.
That's what he said. His whole body was totally fine except his face was burnt.
Yeah,
and then
superficial burn.
And he reeked of chloroform.
Well, so he should have burnt him up a little bit more.
Yeah, set fire to the house.
All right.
Yeah. So Holmes arrived at the Peitzel house in St. Louis the same day that Benjamin's wife and children read the announcement for his death. And Carrie was told, listen, let the kids think that their father is dead. It'll be a lot easier if they think he's dead, and then when he's not dead, it'll be a little surprise.
Yeah, they won't be terrifying. That won't scare the hell out of them.
It won't warp their brains and their idea of trust for the rest of time. No. But also, what's true with this whole thing is that his wife had begged him. It's like Peitzel did the classic. I mean, like, this is the last scam, baby. We're getting this thing, and then we're getting out. Don't you even think about it. Is there alcohol in your perfume?
It was a huge payout. It was $125,000.
Huge, yeah.
Like, so it was worth the risk, but Carrie didn't know Holmes all that well. All she knew was that Holmes showed up every once in a while with a bunch of dead women's clothing.
But then gave presents to the kids, and at the time, that's how you were a good father. Most good fathers you didn't see for 3 months at a time.
Right.
And he'd come home and be like, hello, children, and give rough, like, weird cigar-scented fucking kisses to them, and then give weird sweet candies and leave.
Yeah, sweet candies were probably just fruit. Like a plum or something. That's pathetic.
Well, what Holmes needed from the Peitzel family was a family member to identify the corpse for the insurance company. And it would be much easier for everyone if the person doing the identification believed that Benjamin was dead. So all Holmes needed was to borrow their eldest daughter, Alice, for just a few days to make the identification. I'm just going to take her up to Philadelphia. We're going to identify this corpse that's not your husband, by the way. Your husband's totally fine. He's totally alive. We just need her to go up, identify this corpse, and then I'll bring her right back.
The shady lawyer, and these 3 empty trunks. And I'm not bringing anything else with me. We're going to get on this train. We're going to over here where I definitely did not kill your drunk, good-for-nothing, goon-like husband.
I just see her in the back of whatever automobile they're traveling in, like Tobey Maguire in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas when he hops in the car and he's just scared shitless.
But the truth is, too, is that, like, how did Benjamin Peitzel, her husband, would have been good at this scam?
Blind love.
It's just unbelievable. Like, women believed in men too much back in the day. Because Peitzel couldn't keep his shit together. He was so hammered all the time, so fucked up. He is not going to be the central cog to a highly elaborate insurance scam, and like with a guy who just like who's had 7 wives since you've known him. He had a murder hotel.
But he was perfect for H.H., though.
He had greased shoots.
No one knew about the grease shoots.
Oh, I feel like you know about him. He got grease shoots and lime pits in the house. There's only so much you can escape. Like, you can't say, oh, it's because I love this. Yeah, I love the scent of citrus.
Yeah, why not?
So as to why, I mean, you might ask, why did they take a 15-year-old girl to identify this horribly mangled corpse instead of the man's wife? Well,
Propriety.
Well, Holmes, he didn't trust Carrie to lie convincingly because she wasn't really into the whole scam in the first place. And besides, he's like, listen, you have 3 other children. You have your sick infant, your Wharton, to take care of. But there was also a more nefarious reason. If Holmes wasn't going to pay out to Benjamin, he sure as hell wasn't going to pay out to Benjamin's family either. And what begins here is a long, drawn-out, and particularly cruel process in which Holmes would attempt to kill each and every member of the Peitzel family one by one, and he would come very close to pulling it off.
It's like very Metal Gear Solid, the way he did this. It's very interesting because he would just kind of... Because we're going to see now is that she tails after him and the rest of her kids. Basically, he takes on the kids, and they go on this sort of like cat and mouse, like fucking this weird hostage situation, and then he fucking like snipes them, or he does the garrote to each one. Like, what's the move? What's the thing in Metal Gear Solid when you hold the dude and then you get a balloon?
What it's called. But I know if
I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5 yet.
I'm sorry, I hung out with fucking Holden the other day, and he was like, "Look at my video games."
never do that. But if they would have seen him, then an exclamation mark would have gone over his head. Whoop! You're screwed.
So after the particularly gruesome task of identifying Peitzel's body was completed by Alice, which, by the way, we'll cover in full on a bonus episode, The Autopsy of Benjamin Peitzel.
It's very interesting.
It's very interesting. But yeah, that'll be one of our bonus episodes once we launch our Patreon. Holmes returned to St. Louis and told Carrie that, well, listen, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's going just fine. There are insurance investigators on our trail. So we're going to have to take some extra precautions. I left Alice back in Philadelphia, but what I'm going to need to do is take 2 more of your kids because the insurance investigators, they're going to be looking for a woman with 5 kids.
Yeah, so just think about
all the
it.
sense in the world. Yeah,
just think about it.
If you think about it for 5 seconds. Think about it for 5 seconds.
This woman must have been a drunk,
Listen
too.
about this. Listen about it. Think about it, but you know what I'm going to say after I say think about it? Don't think about it.
Don't think about
Don't think about it, but think about it. Don't think about it.
What?
Yeah. Think about it. I got your kids. Don't think about it.
Yeah, I'm nanny.
So what happened? But you got to also remember is that H.H. Holmes was the pinnacle of man in his day. Of course, like she looks at him, it's like, well, of course, well, you know, he had all these successful businesses. He ran the castle for such a long time,
and he's got a wife that he's checking in all the time with while he's killing all these kids. How does he get to go to sleep? That's what I want to say. That's what he's burning candles both ends. You know what he needs is a spa treatment.
He would be crushing Twitter.
Oh, he would have been so good at
always
social
on
media.
Twitter. Yeah, so good. Social media. Yep.
So over the next few months, as Henry said, Holmes would take 3 of Carrie's children, Howard, Nellie, and Alice, from town to town, registering in hotels under false names, sometimes claiming the kids as his own, sometimes saying he was their uncle, but always changing the story to breed confusion every time. So what he was doing was he was just moving around. So if once he did, in fact, kill the children, the trail would be impossible to follow.
I actually do feel bad for good uncles. Because, like, you can't do anything with your nephews or nieces. If you check in and you're like, I am their uncle, everyone's just like, follow us. Come with us, please.
Because there are only 4 good uncles.
Right. I'm one of them.
Oh, yeah, I'm an uncle, too. Yeah. Woo! I haven't molested nothing.
Nope.
Good to know.
I helped my nephew with his English, with his research paper the other night.
I bought my niece the entire series of Goosebumps.
Oh, that's very good.
She read one and said they were frightening her, and then they did not tell me, but they gave them all away.
So you are the creepy uncle, unbeknownst to you.
Yeah, and Holmes, as he was moving these kids around, changing his story in a very BTK move, when he was asked his profession while registering at one hotel, he said,
I suppose, I am an actor.
Ooh. Love actors.
professional uncle.
Perfect.
That's what I'll say.
So as Holmes was moving around the kids, he was also moving around Carrie Peitzel, constantly stringing her along, saying, all right, so we're going to have to go to Toronto next because that's where your husband is. He's waiting for us there in Toronto. And then once they get to Toronto, he'd say, well, actually, he had to go to Detroit on business for me.
Meanwhile, he's got a wife that he's decided to keep alive.
Yeah.
That he's handling with her because he's still saying that he's working for the ABC copier program or company, whatever it is.
Ancestor of the mimeograph.
But it just seems like ABC copier, again, just seemed like a dude inside of a box that you would just put it in there and he would draw it up inside the box and go like, stick it out. A little white slave. And then he would say, he kept saying he would make it up. He's like, oh, we're going over here for business. And then we're going to this next place because it's nicer here.
Yeah, we're going to Niagara Falls. I didn't give you a proper honeymoon, so now we're going to go to Niagara Falls.
There is no way that he did not have the thought at some point of just being like, I should have just started like a Marriott. Like I should have just promised continental breakfast and just ran a damn hotel. This is so much work
and
for a big payoff, but not that big of a payoff.
He is loving it.
You think he's enjoying this?
Oh my God, he is loving it so much because he has these three people that he's manipulating and
screaming in the back seat all the time.
In certain cities, he would keep all three groups of people blocks away from each other.
You see, I actually think it's not so much pleasure. There is a pleasure over when it all works out.
Right.
But I think what he does is he pushes himself to the extreme of stress and then makes these decisions and then does the next thing. And that's what it's not a love. It's an addiction to the release after stress up to my top. Am I just about to be caught? Is everything about to fall apart? Boom, I made it. I'm a fucking genius. And that's where the pleasure is. It's not the manipulating.
Yeah, I think this sucks for him.
It's the
this
game.
Is work.
But he's doing the game on purpose because then it feels like you're doing something. Like it's what BTK would do, in that comparison, what he would do when he would build the anticipation of killing somebody, where he would go and he would track them until it was just about to burst. And it's very interesting. It's just someone who literally is constantly bored.
There is a misconception that criminals don't work their asses off.
Yeah.
It's hard to be this is a full commitment.
Yeah. And it's also he's also one of those like rare killers. We talk about process killers and product killers. He's both. Because the process was when he was in the hotel and he's killing these women because it's making him hard. The product part of the killing, that's what this is. He's not planning to kill the children for pleasure. He didn't kill Benjamin Peitzel for pleasure. He's killing for money.
It's all money.
Yeah, it's all money. Like this is he's just mixing business and pleasure on this. He just finally figured out, it's like, oh, okay, I do the scams and I do killing on the side. I can actually combine these two things.
Yeah, it's like, pizza on a bagel.
Yeah. You enjoyed eating pizza on a bagel and then you sold them. And then you started a little business.
That's what he should have done, is getting onto the pizza and a bagel business.
Yeah.
Instead of all the killing.
Well, we should debate Totino's Pizza Rolls versus Pizza on a Bagel one of these days.
Yeah, well, I think we should.
We will do that.
For like
That's
3
a bonus,
or 4 hours.
A bonus episode.
So the children, they spent their days alone, locked in hotel rooms. They would constantly be writing letters to their mother, but Holmes kept every single one of them because and the letters are just so sad because
it's all been like, Mommy, you never write.
Yeah.
Why don't you write? Because I've been writing to you. H.H. Holmes keeps gripping on me, but he bought me fancy umbrella. How I wish you could see my umbrella, but you don't write. See you in Toronto.
Yeah, and it started off as an adventure for the kids. Like, oh, we're traveling from place to place. We're seeing so many different locations. This is so exciting. And then it starts getting cold, and they only have like these tiny thin jackets, and Holmes, he just sees buying them jackets, buying them clothing. He sees that as wasted money. He's like, why would I ever do that?
Yeah, why would I dress these dead kids?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, why? Because that's what people who later on gave witness to, is they said that there was this and that's one thing that part of the scam that he never thought of is that he always stood out because he was this immaculately dressed, very nice-looking man with these 3 waifs, these horrible-looking children that are dirty. They're in torn-up, ripped clothing. They're always cold.
But he also did the same thing to the house, too. The murder castle turned into this drab, like, fallen down thing because he became bored with it. Now, like we're going to see, the first child to die was the youngest kid because he was being a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he was starting to scream and yell and draw even more attention to him. So he told the 2 little girls, he's like, listen, I'm going to take your brother to live with my cousin Minnie.
Minnie!
Uh-oh.
I'm Minnie. I'll take the kids. I'm Minnie.
Yikes.
I'm your cousin Minnie.
Oh, my goodness.
It rhymes with Winnie. It's M-I-N-N-I. It's Minnie.
Rather stay with H.H. Holmes, I think.
In reality, though, Holmes took the boy to a secluded, rented house, killed him, chopped up his body using surgical instruments that he had sharpened specifically for this event.
Oh, these are just sharpened.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
And burned the body in the stove, and all that was found of little Howard were teeth, bone fragments, and pieces of his clothing. Nellie and Alice would be killed soon after in Toronto. Holmes somehow convinced the girls to enter a trunk outfitted with a hole just big enough for him to run a hose into, and like so many others, the Peitzel girls died by gas.
Get up, come on, get in the trunk. No, it's a fun game in the trunk. Listen, no, listen, you're getting in the trunk, and I'm getting in the trunk. You're thinking about it? Don't think about it. Think about it. Don't think about it. Just get in the trunk. Just think about the trunk, all right? And now by gas. Does that mean he farted inside of the hole?
Yes, he was slamming beans down his gullet. It took a little bit of time, but sure enough, he asphyxiated them.
I think let's let it hang.
Asphyxiated. Boom! I'm on fire.
So Holmes then took the bodies to another rented house, borrowed a shovel from a neighbor, telling him he needed to bury some potatoes in the cellar.
What is happening?
Can I get your shovel? I gotta.
What do you need? For what? For what?
I gotta bury shovels. Bury some.
So willy-nilly.
Bury some carrots? No. I already buried my carrots last week. Some potatoes. I got to bury them down in the cellar for cellar potatoes. You're thinking about it. Don't even think about it.
Here you go. Have the shovel.
But it was not potatoes that H.H. Holmes was burying.
What was it?
Little girls.
Oh, different.
They don't grow. The
No, they don't. That's not how life works. Believe it or not, you don't bury a child and it turns into a tree full of life.
That also sounds like the latest Cure album, Buried Little Girls Don't Grow.
Oh, it's sad.
So the investigator who found the bodies after an extensive 6-month search, his name was Frank Geyer. He said when he first put the shovel into the ground, quote,
"Only a slight hole had been made when the gases burst forth. The stench was frightful."
So while the bodies were so badly decomposed that Alice's hair slid from her scalp as they picked her up, the youngest was the only one with actual physical harm. Her feet had been amputated to prevent identification upon discovery, for Nellie had a club foot. We don't know what Holmes did with the feet, though.
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
So, you ever see that Charlie Chaplin bit where he's got the biscuits on the forks and he dances with it?
Yeah,
Benny and June.
Benny and June, yeah.
Probably something like that.
Made him dance a little bit, huh? A little tap routine.
Yeah. Or just every time somebody asks, he was like, "They're baby feet." Don't think about it. You're thinking about it.
Do you think about it?
Don't think about it.
But, okay, so Holmes, he's killing Benjamin Peitzel. He's killing kids. He's planning to kill more. He's killed dozens of women back in Chicago. He would not be arrested for any of these things. He would be arrested for insurance fraud, and had it not been for one man, Holmes would have likely pulled off the Benjamin Peitzel insurance scam and killed the entire Peitzel family. You know who Holmes forgot about?
Who?
The handsome bandit.
Bandito guapo. No, it's very interesting because that's what the Marion had when it happened. When H.H. Holmes told him his secret, he's just like, oh, this is fucking great. And he got all the information that he wanted from Holmes about his whole insurance scam. And he's just like, as soon as my sentence comes, I'm going to flip this fucking idiot who told me his whole plans, because this guy's not a real desperado. No. I bet he looked at H.H. Holmes and was like, this guy's a fucking psychopath, but he does not know how to be a desperado.
He's a dandy.
He's a handsome bandit. Yes.
No, well, Marion is that he's the real life bad man of the old West.
Really like a bad man, but with the weird, so not honor amongst thieves, but he was a train robber, did some intense shit, was a hardcore guy,
Jesse James type of guy,
like Black Bart from A Christmas Story.
Exactly like Black Bart from A Christmas Story,
but with more rape.
A lot more. So Marion never got that $500 and was far more interested in cutting a deal with the judge in exchange for a pardon, which he got, by the way. And a little thing about Marion Hedgepeth, died in a shootout at a gas station in 1909.
I didn't even know they had gas stations in 1909. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, they were dangerous.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So as soon as Hedgepeth saw the announcement for Peitzel's death, he put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh, okay, that's the score that Holmes guy was telling me about. Hedgepeth calls over a guard, tells the guard the whole story. The guard tells the judge. The judge calls Philadelphia. And so Holmes gets arrested in Boston for insurance fraud on November 17th, 1894 by the octopus-like system of the Pinkerton Detective Agency.
So just no one was good in this time.
No.
Just everyone's a criminal.
Well, to be honest, it's everybody was a criminal, but everybody was kind of fine with it.
Yeah.
Everyone was cool. I mean, there were actually good men. We mentioned
Pinkerton or the Pinkerton Detective Agency was a hardcore group of guys.
Yeah. They actually just had something in the news recently. There was a $500,000 car or something stolen, and the Pinkerton Club or Detective Agency is on it.
They're still around?
They're still around. I just read about them a week ago. Swear to God.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, the Pinkertons, well, they were also a pretty shady group of characters. People would also hire the Pinkertons as kind of a personal goon squad. But the Pinkertons, that's where we get the term private eye from, because that's what the Pinkertons called themselves, the all-seeing eye.
They're still on the case.
But they're good. But they were good at their jobs.
They were extremely good. And the other guy that bears mention that we'll probably talk about in our upcoming Super Cop episode, Frank Geyer. Frank Geyer spent 6 months on the trail of H.H. Holmes, and he was the one that figured out, despite all of the deception, despite all of the name changes, he was the one that tracked down the children.
It's very interesting because he really did. They had been following him for a while.
Yeah.
H.H. Holmes was not doing a good job. All of the different stories made him incredibly suspicious constantly.
Yeah. Detective work was just so much different. I mean, now you take it to a lab, you get DNA evidence 3 weeks later, you can put things together so much easier.
It was all
work.
eyewitness. It was all interviews. That's the only way that he was able to actually find those kids.
Cool.
And so H.H., he's in prison. Carrie Peitzel finds him finally and says, okay, so you're in prison. Where are the kids? Holmes said, okay, here's the deal. Yes, I did commit insurance fraud. That was a corpse that was placed there by me up in Philadelphia, but it was a cadaver. Benjamin's still alive and well, and he is now with the kids, and they're either in South America or Florida.
Officer, I got to say this. It looks like you're thinking about it.
Right.
But what I need you to do is to go ahead and take that thinking about it and give it a bit of a reversal of that. All right? Don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it. Think about it.
Yeah.
But when the children's bodies were finally found, Holmes claimed that Minnie, along with the mysterious accomplice named Hatch...
Hey, I'm Hatch. I'm Hatch, and this is my friend Minnie. I'm Minnie. I'm Hatch, and I help her kill babies. I'm Minnie, and I kill the baby with my friend Hatch.
God, man, that is the most annoying character that's ever come out of you.
You don't like it?
I love it.
So so that's what Holmes said. He said that Minnie, along with Hatch, had killed the children while they were in her care. But now, with an obviously grisly triple child murder, at the very least attached to Holmes, investigators finally decided to take a look at the castle that Holmes had run for years over in Englewood. The evidence inside was more than enough to seal Holmes's fate. They found the acid vats. They found the surgical tables. They talked to the groundskeeper, this guy named Quinlan, and he was like,
They were like, how did you not know? He's like, well, I was never allowed to clean the second floor.
I mean, at some point, the detectives just had to look at each other and be like, we should have done this like 7 years ago, huh?
You know what? You thinking about it? You're thinking about it.
Thinking about it.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it. Okay, you know what? Thank you so much.
That's the one thing I
Thank you
learned
so
from
much.
that H.H. Holmes guy.
Thank you so much.
And by the way, Quinlan killed himself with strychnine just a few years later. And his suicide note, the only thing it had one sentence that just said, I couldn't sleep.
Oh, God, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep last night, but I like being alive.
So Holmes would eventually be convicted of only 4 murders, but he would confess to up to 30, and always the adapter. Holmes went from publishing a set of memoirs professing his innocence before the discovery of the children and the castle to saying the bodies found inside the castle, they were all donated cadavers. I got them all completely legal. I'm a doctor. I'm using them. But once they finally proved that, once he knew that he was going to die, that he was not going to get out of it because there were no appeals in 1896.
Greased chutes down to burning areas.
Lime pools.
Yes, he finally said that he would go back and forth. He said that he was alternately possessed by or guided by the devil. He famously said,
I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing. I was born with the evil one standing as my sponsor besides the bed where I was ushered into the world, and he has been with me since. Or she. I do not want to discriminate.
That's right.
Cisgender.
Gender is fluid, too.
Gender is fluid.
Yes.
So Holmes was hanged on May 7th, 1896. He was not one of the lucky ones to have his neck snap when the doors opened beneath his feet, and so was strangled to death slowly over 15 minutes before finally being pronounced dead. As far as the castle goes, much of it was destroyed in an arson attempt in 1895, and today in its place stands a post office.
Hey.
Which is, I mean, our post office is fucking miserable enough. Do we really need to be on the lot of a murder hotel?
Yeah. I love the federal government is like, we will take the land. We will set up an institution that will eventually, at some point, lead to massacres in offices.
Okay. Well, first thing we're going to do is just like, if that post office doesn't work, we're going to put in dog crematorium.
Yeah. Then we'll
Kill
retry the post
unwanted
office.
dogs. Yeah.
And that's it. That's H.H. Holmes.
Wow. So
Yeah.
he died slowly, which is nice.
Yeah.
He didn't
It
get
is
the,
nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
15 minutes of hanging and struggling there.
You know, and it's very interesting because I would put him along the lines of like either like a very notorious evil man, where it's like, you know, but it's interesting because normally I like how it didn't kill him immediately. There's something about that too, where it's like Vlad the Vampire, Vlad the Dracul, like how that fucking his prolonged death, how they killed him over days. Same thing with Rasputin and like Mussolini when they hung
give
Mussolini.
Rasputin a break.
Because Rasputin was a piece of shit. All right, and there's something adds to the sort of like mythical nature of this like legendary boogeyman of like it took a little bit to kill him too, and it's a long time for him to go down.
Rasputin sounds like something you take if you have a cold. It sounds like a good medicine. I like that very, very
Wait a second,
much.
is this the Reader's Digest laughter is the best medicine section?
I'll tell you one thing. Oh my God, Reader's Digest laughter is the best medicine section is amazing, and my father was always very depressed. He could never get it. He always submitted. He never got in.
So your dad was a joke writer as well.
He was a truck driver. My father was a truck driver. Yeah, he had a couple of bits up his sleeve there. Never really got to hear him. H.H. Holmes, people, I think, They throw that term genius around way too much when it comes to a lot of these serial killers, but there's just really no denying that the man was completely brilliant.
Yeah,
He was sort of good at it.
Yeah, it's interesting to actually build these things, to actually, it's like most of these things stay in people's minds.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. What a series. Great job, Marcus.
Thank you very much. And
wonderful research. Unbelievable.
We've got to give much thanks to Sammy Coughlin and Megan Fierro-Root on this episode as far as their assistance on research goes. Couldn't have done it without him.
You did say Sammy's name like he was a victim of a serial killer.
It's a girl.
It's a woman.
It's a woman.
You've never met Sammy?
You've met Sammy.
You've met Sammy many times.
Oh, I love her. I've always enjoyed her. I really enjoy her.
All of our interns are very short, and that's the thing why I don't think you see them, because they're just walking around underneath the clouds by your shoulders.
Very good joke, Henry. You should do that for Reader's Digest. Laughter is the best medicine.
And guys, don't forget this Saturday, November 28th, is the last Podcast on the Left live show. Henry's going to be here for the first time in months. It starts at 10 p.m. It's totally free. Get here early because I know we've got a ton of people coming to this one. It's going to fill up quick. So that's the Creek in the Cave, 1093 Jackson Avenue in Long Island City, Queens. And it's going to be great.
We won't be doing one in December just because it's too hectic with everybody's schedule. So this is the last one before the new year.
Yeah,
so,
this is the last one until January.
Yeah, we sadly have to give deference to fucking Christmas.
It's a capitalism thing. Don't even think about.
Yeah, go home. I'm going home with Marcus.
All right, follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Loves You, at Marcus Parks. Marcus is at Marcus Parks. I'm at Ben Kissel. Thanks for supporting all the shows here that Marcus and I do together as well. Top at Page 7, Roundtable of Gentlemen, Sex and Other Human Activities.
Yeah, and if you want your last Podcast on the Left t-shirt, go to Cave Comedy.
Jeez, what happened to you?
Go to cavecomedyradio.com/merch. They're only $25 each for Americans, $40 everywhere else in the rest of the world. And also, I got a little project going on right now over on Spotify. If you want to follow me, I'm working on I'm doing a playlist for every single year from 1950 to 2015. I'm up to 1980 right now.
That's great.
Playlist is running at this moment about 1,200 songs. So go follow me on Spotify. Check those out.
And if you don't listen, he'll start smoking again.
Yeah, exactly. And it is keeping him from killing random people in his apartment building.
That's great. Magustalations. I'm just going to throw that out there. I rarely do the Magustalations. And people are wondering what it means on Facebook, and I have no idea.
We're going to catch up.
It means congratulations for liking something.
Great.
Sure. Hail Satan. We all know what that means. That means have a happy Thanksgiving.
And Heil Geen.
And hail yourselves.
For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to cavecomedyradio.com.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Did you say bagel?
No, I did not.
Get out of here, nerd! I'm your best fan.
Are you getting married? That's nice.
We're good to go.
All right. Hey, welcome to the last podcast. I'm Ben Kissel with Marcus Parks, and with us as always,
Henry Zabrowski.
Just Henry today.
Yeah, let's just be me for a day.
you.
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
Why not?
You know, just throw it out there. Just
What's in the
being
box?
me, being Henry. What's in the box?
Get the
Henry's in the
out of
box.
here. I love
Get
it.
me out of this box.
Hey, you're out of it. Oh, you're so damn ugly. Put it back in the box.
Oh, I'm such a silly little romper.
You are a
smell bad too.
What?
No, he doesn't smell bad. He smells good. He doesn't smell like an alien.
I have this natural body spray from Lush called what was it called? I want to say it's called like Beachin. Beachin, like
when you go to the beach and take off your clothes, people are like, "Put water on him." I think he's beaching.
No. Beachin is like chilling.
Oh, okay.
But it's beachin.
Yeah.
But belly first. Yeah.
I see. All right.
Stranded on a ledge somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. I want to
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
beaching with you anytime.
Oh, we'll do it tomorrow.
All right.
Yay.
Well, we're going to talk about aliens today.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Now, more so we've broached the UFO topic before, and we have talked with an abductee. Again, I'm not going to...
Alleged abductee.
May or may not have been an abductee.
Have you guys read the book?
I thumbed through the book the other day when I was on the old toilet there, and I wasn't sure what was more full of shit, my asshole or the book. It was very bizarre, but I liked it though. It was
You are a very good reviewer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All of your metaphors revolve around shit.
Yeah, well, I review everything well taken as shit. Oh, the shit movie reviewer would be amazing.
I like to call useful poo-poo doo-doo.
Absolutely.
So today what we are talking about is it's a very serious subject. It is the secret alien agenda. Now, this isn't even just about the nature of aliens. All of this presupposes, no matter what, that aliens are real and are a secret part of life that our government has been keeping from us for either like to save us and protect us, or just to deceive us in order to help create their new world order.
It would completely destroy everything that they've worked so hard to create. If all of a sudden aliens exist, we're no more
Unless
no
it was
longer the most powerful forms on Earth.
Unless it was always a part of the plan to slowly integrate aliens surreptitiously by insinuating that aliens exist and then ridiculing those that stood for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they again, like as we've said many times, this is Hegelian dialectic, that the government could be playing both sides and is allowing us to slowly to understand alien life forms by ridiculing it for so long.
Right, via Will Smith.
Yes.
That's pretty much our basics.
Who's a member of Scientology, again, who's just like, well, he did ID4, and now he is trying not to be gay anymore with the use of alien magic, so we'll see what happens.
Not working.
Not working.
Extremely gay. But that's fine. Do we want to talk about Phil Schneider up top?
I think let's kind of just start with a general thing that...
Okay.
So... There are many different people who come out to talk about the alien agenda. You can say that their motives and who they are dubious at most.
They just want to make money via public speaking gigs.
Possibly. And then there's also a lot of people...
David Icke, definitely.
David Icke I think David Icke just lost his mind. Like pretty hardcore. But David Icke, but again, all of this stuff is corroborated by many different sources. Right. And there are a lot of people that believe, again, that there's apparently a part of the alien agenda is that it's only been revealed psychically to about 15 people, and they have been charged with slowly releasing this information over time. And then there's also people that believe that we're parts of government programs who believe that they have seen aliens and have had contact and know secret information. Now, again, these are all people who come out to say this stuff at their own personal peril. You know what I mean? They're ridiculed, they lose their jobs.
A lot of them die.
But they also...
Some murdered.
And they also some get murdered. And so, or quote unquote, not murdered, or they die of mysterious circumstances. And then...
Colon cancer.
Yeah,
that's big amongst alien believers.
Yeah, and that's just like the CAA's all over butt cancer.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's where they probe.
That's what we did to Russia. We made the wall fall. Mm-hmm. We went in and gave the fucking Berlin Wall some colon cancer, and it fell asleep while driving.
That's right.
It came tumbling down.
This is the most beautiful metaphor for the fall of the Soviet Republic that I've ever heard.
Hey,
absolutely.
I'm a poet. You know, people have called me the modern Walt Whitman of ass play.
I've heard that. They're not wrong. You're brilliant.
So a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, again, it comes up over and over again, and there's a lot of stuff. So let's start with the government.
You just want to start with the government.
Now, again, this is saying that aliens are beings from other planets that are either interdimensional, they are corporal, and they're hiding within our Earth. There's many, what's the term? Small Earth theory, the idea of the inner Earth, where there's a whole
Shambhala.
No. I think that's the proper pronunciation for that. So there's some people who believe that aliens are living inside the Earth right now. There's some people that are aliens living inside of Venus. There's some people who believe that aliens exist all around us, but because they're interdimensional beings, we can't even see them.
Right, and of course the alien from Venus is Valiant Thor.
We'll get to the Valiant Thor.
And we'll get more to Shambhala as well.
Shambhala.
Yeah. Let's start with...
Yes.
Let's start with one of the most famous governments of all time, the Nazis. Nazi Germany.
You'd say most famous governments?
I think so. Yeah, one of the most famous
political
governments.
parties.
Political parties. Yeah, the government.
That's a thing.
So we can get straight into Shambhala then. This belief is called esoteric Hitlerism. It's spearheaded by this guy named Miguel Serrano. Chilean. My God, South Americans love Nazis.
I don't understand, but they got all the beaches and the guavas. They're beaching it all the time. Like, why are they hating so much?
Yeah, they're beaching it, but they're Nazi-ing it too.
Why?
Why be beaching it? They're so happy. They need to have a lot of hate as well.
You can't be beaching and be Nazi-ing all at once.
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't think that you can be named Miguel and be a Nazi all at once.
No, because you're too busy playing a trumpet, dancing around a hat.
So, esoteric Hitlerists believe that the Aryan race is descended from an alien species of the highest order, finding evidence in the story of the Nephilim in the Bible, which, by the way, the Nephilim are they're called sons of God.
So,
It's the same people talk about the what's it, Anakin? What's it, an Arakan? The fuck. I should know this. The Sumerian like alien type creatures. Yeah, they're very similar.
And they're also giants.
Yes.
Yeah. They're giants. They're
very similar.
They
to that.
inhabited Canaan, according to Numbers 13:33, and so they say that the Nephilim are this alien species.
About 7'8" they are.
About
That's true. No, that's what they say.
They could all been like Croatians on a various sprinkled throughout the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they believe that these Nephilim were an ancient alien civilization, came to Earth to enlighten man. They bred with ancient Earthlings, and the Aryan race are the only race alive that maintains any of the purity of their blood of these lofty ancestors.
That's good to hear.
Serrano taught that the alien gods were hiding with Adolf Hitler in an icy underground fortress from which they will one day emerge with fleets of spacecraft to usher in the Fourth Reich.
It just sounds like they're going for a Hail Mary pass here.
It's a big Hail Mary pass.
I just also imagine the aliens sitting aliens and Adolf Hitler sitting in an icy underground chamber, all with like Coronas in the ice. You know, like,
just having a good time beaching it.
Who's got some limes?
You know,
who's brought the lemons and the limes?
You know, if it was up to me, we would never start the Fourth Reich. I'm having a great time here.
I'm just here. I'm beaching it. I'm loving to my life.
I'm beaching it. It's like, so if we have this, it's fine.
I love that as an offshoot branch of just a thing that's obviously not true. And the other thing, but you start from there, right? So let's start with let's go to Nazism and starts where modern belief of the alien agenda comes from. Is like it starts in 1933 with the Nazis, right? Now you got a bunch of people who talk about this.
A bunch of people. Interesting. I think that was your alien
why did my voice
talking. I don't know.
Change like
that
that?
Are your teeth tingling?
I feel sick.
All right.
Do you smell toast?
So apparently, now let's go way back, way back.
Take it all the way back.
Before modern humankind. All right. There was a group of aliens that supposedly there were several groups of aliens that landed on the planet Earth, right? You have the people like the Pleiades, right? And the Pleiades are a human-looking alien race. And one thing you're also going to discover is that they believe
good at bending.
They bended.
Pilates.
So it starts and they got what's the term? They were
transmuted.
No, they crash landed. I'll use that.
They can't drive. Aliens can't
drive.
They
can't drive. They're like Asian women.
It's weird.
You stop here. Oh, it's Yarrow. It's Yarrow. You stop. It's warning. It's warning for you to stop.
All right.
The obligatory offending the Asians.
It's okay, just a little, but that's just a character I was playing.
Yeah, that's fine. No one's upset.
So Pleiades crash landed here in Egypt, and they lived underneath Giza, where the pyramids were made. And they believe that what they did is, again, they manipulated humankind there. They mated with humans, and they created the pyramids in order to help a rescue ship find them. Right?
Nice. It would be kind of fun to fuck one of these alien chicks.
So,
very lucky, man.
Let's just say.
Oh, yeah. One time I fucked a girl with real bad eczema. It was like fucking
I remember that on Roundtable. It's Sexema. You remember?
Yeah, Sexema.
Very hot.
So that's one group of aliens that supposedly landed on Earth. Now there's a big talk. Let's say the big thing is there are several different why aliens come to Earth. One is that there's
they can't drive.
They can drive.
Right.
Certainly not 55. And then they come to Earth either because of the spark of consciousness that started here with human beings, right? And that all of these civilizations wanted to get in on manipulating us in order to either create allies in the future or raise us as food, right? Because the Pleiades wanted to...
I tell you, these monkey men, they're going to be big someday. They're going to be big. We want to get in on the ground floor.
I say we make a whole basketball team of these monkey men. That wasn't me. I wasn't being racist.
No. It's going back to the dawn of... We were all monkeys.
So we were excited. Tempers were running high. It's fine.
That's my wings are melting. So that was one idea, right? So the Pleiades came in order to manipulate us in their image, and then there are people like the Draconans, which are the dreaded, as David Icke says, like these are the reptilian creatures that apparently also came to Earth, helped create humankind as a slave race, and basically there was a conflict between the Draconans and the Greys, another series, which is our more traditional alien, right? Because the Draconans are said to be reptilian in form. They grow from anywhere from 8 feet to 22 feet.
Oh, wow!
And they made us to be their handmaidens. And then the Greys came down and said, leave these humans alone. You're going to be forced to live inside the Earth in the hidden Earth area, the Shambhala. And they were sort of, I don't know what the term is, exiled there, and just saying, like, when we conquer the human race, we will give you a chunk of them
for food.
Oh, that's great.
Now this is just basic alien agenda. This is just where it all starts. Now that's when everything starts.
Like a lot just for like some food. I mean, they're
it seems like a lot to go through.
We're really tasty.
Just gonna get a microwave, get some chickens.
I mean, pigs are very similar.
You know how
more meat on the pig.
Yeah, you'd think they could just get a pig.
Do you know Cadbury mini eggs?
Yeah.
You know, like the little, like the M&M eggs.
That's the soul.
Those are my favorite things. But what I'm saying is, but they only come out at Easter. You know, so you got to get a bunch of bags. That's what I do. I get a good 6, 7, 8 bags of them, and I keep them in my freezer.
Yeah,
and I have that for forever. And that's what they're doing to us.
Oh, okay. If I may interject, my favorite reputed reptilians, Chris Christopherson. And Boxcar Willie.
Not bad.
There is a belief that reptilians do walk the earth in disguise. But
George W. Bush, Queen Elizabeth II, both reputed reptilians.
But they also say apparently you can tell because they have.
I just spilled water all over my laptop.
He said, "That's good though. He didn't scream. He could have definitely screamed."
That was really.
I'm calm under pressure.
You took that like a man.
Yeah. I would have been screaming like a little girl right now.
That's right, but I'm strong and smart.
You can use my shirt there. All right, bud. They say you can tell a reptilian is in human costume by the slight ridges on his cheekbones and his reptilian eyes.
Well, Mayor Bloomberg also.
Mayor Bloomberg is.
They're just some Nazi there. He's like, I know the Jews, the reptiles.
Bloomberg and my old boss both had very reptilian features.
And Barack Obama was also believed too. Yeah. That was David Icke's big thing.
I would not be surprised if any and all of those people were reptiles.
I'm going to straight up say I hope they are.
Yeah, why not?
Wish they were. But just like again, I'm sorry that like we kind of get stopped. All of this is very, very complicated.
Extremely. That's why we're kind of getting a little off track here and there because it's I am not smart enough to wrap my head around this.
Because I mean, if you look at, because there are certain people who've come out and talked about this, right? You know, there's like a lot of this information comes from a guy named Alex Collier, right? Who was this normal guy who believed that he was psychically contacted by the Aldebarans, right? Which is one of the 2 alien races that are friendly to humankind. And that the other 9, right? There's 11 known alien total, races, and that the other 9 are anti-human, which just more like want to manipulate humankind, where the other 2 want to help release us from alien manipulation.
Where do the Greys fall in on this?
The Greys are bad. The Greys, so...
Shit, I was hoping that was good.
Oh, I don't even know. How do I even get to here? In 1954, apparently Eisenhower signed a treaty with the Greys, right? Okay. And that they live underneath Area 51.
That's what Area 51's for.
Yes. Well, it's one of the literally countless things that is jammed under the umbrella that is Area 51.
There was that awesome video game.
Love that video game. That was with the pedal reload, which I love.
Yeah. And was Aerosmith a part of that one?
No, that was Aerosmith Revolution. That was a different game, same concept though.
Okay. Didn't Aerosmith record Crazy at Area 51?
It's possible.
Phil Spector he invented the wall of sound at Area 51.
Reptilian.
So, they've also so to kind of hurry up to the modern time, the contemporary alien agenda, there's belief that at the time, Greys, like, So the Pleiades that were
This is
stuck
one of the
underneath
weirdest
the Egyptian-
episodes of all time. I don't even know if we should continue to record it. I feel like the aliens have not.
I mean, I've researched this and I'm lost.
I just don't know
I'm
what
so
to say.
confused.
I just don't know where to start.
Let's
We're 16 minutes into the episode and we still haven't figured out where to start.
We gotta get
so
I thought we had
complicated.
let's get a framework.
All right.
Let's take a positive framework.
Okay. Beaching it.
Beaching it.
Okay. All right. So we're at beaching it. Okay.
We've got that.
So we're good with beaching it. You smell good. You have a
I smell fine. I'm covered. It's natural scent. It's got rosemary and
See,
mint.
I've got
in it.
I've got a good natural musk myself.
You
or at
actually
least
smell fine. You smell
Thank you.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm so hot in here.
Yeah, I know. I am
It's
dying.
very hot in here.
Oh, okay. All right.
So here's
let's
another.
hold hands and take a breath. Okay.
All right.
So go.
Let's just start. All right, 1930. Let's just do all the other stuff is just fun stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's just start from 19. Let's start from 1933. All right, 1933. The Greys, a race of aliens, made themselves known to our Nazi government. Right.
Yes.
The Nazi governments refused to work with the Greys because they were secretly working with a group of Pleiadians hidden under Egypt, named the Giza Intelligence. This is all true right now. This is all just stuff that is stuff I've read. Right?
Okay.
So the Greys went back into hiding until 1947, when a group of Greys crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico, and began communications with their government because they
No,
at
this
that
is the
point,
U.S. government here.
This is the U.S.
Yes.
government. In Roswell, New Mexico, a craft crashed. They recovered the crash and 3 living entities that were all taken to a place known as Groom Lake, or would become to me known as Area 51.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Also known as S2, S3, S4, and is also known as Magic Mountain and like other ridiculous things. Right? So the aliens were put
known
there.
as Goo Goo Chocolate Bing Bong.
Yeah, which is an Aerosmith's main recording studio.
Yeah.
And so in 1954, fast forward 7 years later, 1954, Eisenhower is called into a secret meeting with 2 alien entities, these Greys, right?
Okay.
He signs a contract with them saying that we will give you X amount of human lives to use for experimentation and for food in exchange for your technology. So now, so out of the crash in Roswell in 1947 and the treaty in 1954, that is where Wi-Fi came from.
Yep.
That's where supposedly over the next 5 years we're going to see a new space shuttle named the TR-23, right, which is a triangular UFO-shaped craft that they say can approach light speed, right?
Nice.
They're figuring out because especially what's going on with the Higgs boson and how to take matter out of things now. They're saying that we've been having that for a long time and we can make weightlessness happen.
Right.
By giving things no inherent mass.
Put it in a bounty house.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Bounce it up and or moon shoes.
I'll
You
give
were
it
down-
moon
shoes.
Now I understand the Higgs boson.
There we
Thank you,
go.
Ben.
No problem.
Yeah, this is
That's why
great.
I'm here.
So at the time, right, 1947 happened. It was you have stuff like Project Grudge and Project Sign and Project Blue Book, right?
Right.
These were all
That's
the
my
same
favorite.
projects that were retrofitted. The idea was the government went into huge secret investigation of the alien races and alien contact, and they did it under various signs, and eventually became a thing known as Majestic 12, which was
Well, let's go
12
back. What
I
is,
thought you were
what's-
going to say Majestic Twat.
Majestic
That's
Twats
great.
is a great band name.
what is Project Blue Book?
Project Blue Book is a organization that was a part of the Air Force that was investigating UFO sightings.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and the government has actually been very open with Project Blue Book.
Okay, so it
Like,
did
they're-
exist.
Yeah, because
So
Project Blue
yeah.
Book was made as a screen thing, and they were told to explain things as mundanely as possible.
Yeah.
That was a part of what they did. Is they wanted nothing, they had a bunch of inconclusive data, and they made them trash it, and then they were like, only stuff that can be totally explained. And then this Project Blue Book was where the idea of swamp gas came from, and also the reflective backs of pelicans was
Huh?
another
What-
thing blamed
I've
on
never
UFOs
heard of
or
that.
blamed
What
on-
the
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Explain.
That they told people that instead of seeing UFOs, they were seeing light bouncing off of pelicans.
That's a good idea. And
Pelican.
Pelicans, it's the mirror of the bird family. You could just pick up a pelican and look at your face and see if you got
Fucking
lipstick
weird.
on you.
Yeah.
Let's say you've been making out with a fucking dude dressed up like a lady. You could just pick up a pelican and check your shit anytime you need to.
I had no idea.
But try,
No.
but I'd say, I'll give you a nickel if you can even catch a pelican because they are vicious.
And what is swamp gas?
Swamp gas is just saying that pockets of swamp gas would light on fire due to environmental things and make you see UFOs.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. So then fast forward again to 1974. Alex Collier, a simple man, may have been a perpetrator of many different frauds.
Okay.
Right? His name was something else. It was like literally his born name is like Alex like Rodriguez Gutierrez. It's like
Ooh,
something
nice.
else. And he changed
Regal.
his name to Alex Collier
Okay.
and came out and said that he was approached by this is where the alien agenda really started coming together, where he was approached by a benevolent species named from this star cluster, the Aldebaran. Or whatever that is, right?
Alderaan?
No. We're not doing this Star Wars bullshit. Star Wars is fake. This is real.
This is absolute truth.
And basically, he was told that they have to spread the message of peace and love and stop having involvement with the aliens. They were part of a fake treaty with the Greys, and what the Greys do is the reason why they do the abduction sequences the way they do is because they feed off of human fear. And if that only we could learn to love each other and abolish all war, the vibes of goodness would make the Greys leave and make the Draconans leave.
So we should just listen to the Beach Boys.
It's just the end of Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, good vibrations. That'll save the world.
Higher and higher. So that's all.
bad.
That's technically the way to beat the aliens. And that's so.
Love
right
beats
now,
the aliens.
Love beats the aliens.
Okay.
And so let's talk about Phil Schneider.
Let's talk about Phil Schneider.
Phil Schneider worked at Area 51, right?
He worked at Area 51. There's some great YouTube clips that Henry sent over to me via email, which was pretty fantastic.
I've been sitting with this topic for like 10, 12 days.
Yeah,
so that's
it's
the
hot.
thing, guys, is that like what the unleash of Satanism that you all got, this was all on top of that as well. I have been a weird person to be around.
And by the way, I've got a bit of a Satanist. I got a Satanist
I went to a really
story.
classy July 4th. I went to a really classy July 4th party yesterday and alienated some people. Quote, I like that.
Quote, unquote.
Well, yeah, with the pun intended, because people get really weirded out after you talk about aliens for about 45 minutes.
Well, I want to end the episode.
Trying to explain what I've been trying to explain.
Yeah.
This entire time.
I want to end on a Satanist story, a bit of a Satanist update. But yeah, let's continue.
Okay. So Phil Schneider, he was a fella. He worked. He speaks mildly autistic.
He's a fat dude.
You're just trying to discredit this man.
No, I'm not discrediting him.
Everyone
I
says that
like
fat dudes can't see or tell the truth.
No, fat dudes can't lie. Fat dudes can't lie. That's the truth. So he went across the country.
Wait a minute. You used to be a fat dude.
I didn't lie then. I just lie now. So he traveled across the country, giving, just telling the people what he found at Area 51, and apparently he encountered
Because
the
his
Greys.
job originally is like what he helped do. It was to build a giant underground like spaces for Area 51,
right,
which
where
is,
they lived, where the aliens would inhabit.
But they didn't know that, right? That was the idea, is that they just started burrowing holes in the ground because they were making new. So Area 51 is like there's the world's longest airstrip, and there's like a bunch of like government buildings.
Right.
But then there's the mountains underneath it. It's technically called Groom Lake, which is where all the super secret shit is, and all these like caves and stuff. That's where all
Right.
our new planes are hidden and stuff like that.
Where Data worked in Independence Day.
Yes.
There we go. So that is also where Phil worked, and he just basically tells a tale of how he, entered into a room at one point. He saw two of these large beast creatures around 8 feet tall.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
What's going on, faggot?
Whoa!
They pick up that word fast.
The only special they had was Dice Live from New York. So the Andrew Dice Clay wonderful live album.
Whoa!
That would be so amazing.
Little Miss Mupp sat on a tough.
These aliens are funny.
Yeah, these
I
guys
love
are,
these
they're
aliens.
pushing the envelope.
That's ingenious shit. So the aliens were apparently very upset with him that they saw him, so he pulled out his gun and he shot both of them dead. But before he could, one of the aliens touched his tummy.
He like made a rubbing motion on his tummy.
And then a blue beam came out and it cut off 3 out of the 5 fingers.
This dude, seriously? This dude's fucked up.
His fingers are all fucked up. Apparently it boiled off his toes, and he said his foot is all fucking just a
And
big
he's got
nub.
scar tissue
and
all
he's got
over his
scar
body.
tissue all over his body.
He was zapped with some crazy electric ray.
Didn't know what it was. And the thing is, the stories are a little wild, but the creepy thing is, as soon as he started giving public speeches, he was like, "This is very dangerous. My life my life has been threatened." He got shot in the shoulder.
He got
2
shot,
weeks previous
and
to
then
the
his
speech.
friend was murdered too. Like
Friend was murdered. And 1 year later, 1996, he was found in Portland, Oregon, dead under mysterious circumstances.
It was
it could have been type 2 diabetes or colon cancer, but that is fine.
No, but and the stuff he said again was like Alex Collier and said all this stuff, and I mean, very dubious, very insane. He was also talking about like it's like the 70s, and then he did this. The big interview came out in 1994. That's like the famous like 2.5 hour like document. Like it's just him sitting in this hotel room, just being like, "It's true, damn it, it's true."
Yeah.
Like he's just like he's losing his mind. Like obviously, like whatever he's dealing with, and
that's one thing. It's like regardless of if they're telling the truth or if they're not telling the truth, to them it's definitely the truth, and it ruins their lives. So there's something to that.
There's something to that, and so his stuff backed up Phil Snyder's stuff, and these are two people that like had no real connection to each other because they were years and years apart.
Right.
And,
Both
like,
level 1 security, level 1 clearance, which is like extremely rare.
Yeah, especially because that's what they were talking about. It's like it's a kind of clearance that the president doesn't have. There's like all this stuff that's like when they all the stuff they call black projects. You know, like black budgets or like undisclosed and all this stuff, and it's been used. It's used by the military. It's used by the CIA for whatever various reasons, either for super secrecy. Or just like, I mean, bunga parties for the CIA. You know?
bring the prostitutes down there.
Yeah,
without a
doubt. Black ops.
It's like we were talking about with, what was that party where all the world leaders got together? And
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove.
Exactly. That's in the Black Ops budget, and that's where you get all the red cups for that, and you get all the condoms.
Don't go in the alien room. It's going to fucking creep you out.
Yeah, but all it is just nudie calendars and koozies.
Pretty much, yeah. That's always just beaching it.
And Brad Pitt just whacking it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, you guys have the room now. But you have all these people, and there's another guy who came in who's from Sweden, a guy named Billy Meyer, who he has some of the most conclusive, amazing UFO footage that you'll ever see.
And what's this footage entail?
It's just videos of flying saucers and stuff like that.
Were they like?
There was heavily debated. Yes, they were heavily debated, and it's like, and it's just always, just like. Everyone's just like, you can't prove it. And someone's just like, well, you can fake that. And he's like, you can't prove it. So it's like, it's just very much up in the air.
When did he make the videos?
In the late 80s, early 90s.
So technology wasn't nearly as good as it is now.
No. And this is a guy that also got approached by alien intelligences who said the same exact thing. And just this idea of, human beings have been manipulated since the beginning of our race in order to serve other people's ends. The only way for human, because basically like the Aldebarans and the Pleiades who are like pro-human. We also should talk about the Venusians, because Phil Schneider worked with a Venusian who's been working with the U.S. government since the 1940s and is he's still alive and he still works with the government.
And that's Valiant Thor.
His name is Valiant Thor. He's purple.
Okay.
He's a purple fella. You cannot. You can't shake his hand.
They cover his face.
Right.
He covers his face in a skin tight bodysuit
because
he looks human.
He has a lifespan of 490 years, and he's been here for 59 years now. So he looks the exact same. I mean, he's relatively
and he fills
young.
the copier.
Fills the copier. He's been an intern for years, decades. I don't know why he's not trying to move up in the ranks. And
so we can get you a finance degree, Valiant. And he's like, I'm from Venus.
No, okay, you're weird. You're weird.
Happy with my station in life.
He's a very bizarre guy.
I just want to stay in as your admin. I just want to go get my beers and go bowling on Tuesdays.
I do not want the pressures of a corporate lifestyle.
They've nailed the Everman. The aliens definitely got it right. They could work on the voice a little bit. But
he is shouting.
He always shouts, "Turn me down. Turn me down."
Oh, you tell me. Oh, we are friends.
I love being friends with you. Yeah, but you can't shake hands with Valiant, because apparently if you shake hands, this is another thing that Phil believed, they'll give you a whole bunch of diseases because
and
he has the alien.
What if you hug him?
You can't hug him. You can't touch him.
Okay.
And that's why Phil,
He's
one
so
of
lonely.
his more controversial thoughts, that's why he believes AIDS, Ebola.
And then he brought up, but then at the very end of that whole speech, and he just brings up, he's like, and Janet Reno's a lesbian. She is a full-on lesbian. He's like,
at one point, he does take a turn for you're like, oh, wow, okay.
Okay, you don't need to go there. And you see everyone just
She
going
is a lesbian,
like,
but
wrap it up, Phil.
Yeah, let's go, Phil. You had us with the alien invasion shit, but this Janet Reno, a lesbian
And I know
thing.
that
She's not holding water.
If it would have been like 21st century editing capabilities, people would have said like, why did they edit out? There's 2 minutes missing out of it. It's like, well, he just talked about Janet Reno being a lesbian.
Ranted and raved about Janet Reno being a lesbian.
For like 2-3 minutes, which 2-3 minutes doesn't sound like a long time,
but
it is.
She's a lesbian. A goddamn lesbian molesting our daughters.
Right. It's like if you put
mothers lock up your daughters.
Like, thank
the
God he
attorney
wasn't-
general's in town.
Thank God he wasn't alive to see the Paula Poundstone finale. Finale? Finale is a catastrophe involving molestation.
Oh, okay. That seems to
The
make a lot of
hootenanny.
sense. Hootenanny. That's very good. Yes, time does go a little bit slower when you're calling people out for their sexual orientation. That is very, very true. I think that's a human
Again,
fact.
but that's also the problem we were talking originally about, like the idea of the studies of the human consciousness, where it's like all these guys, like Ouspensky and all these people who came out like talking about how like in order for humans to evolve, we need to be one with each other and be one with the planet Earth. They also use that to help the Nazis. You know what I mean? Like so every single time these guys in these extreme thoughts, they're just making such amazing points and they're saying all this stuff, and then they just fly off the handle.
Well, one woman who believed in esoteric Nazism, she believed that Hitler was defeated because he was too kind. I shit you not. She said that he was too kind and too merciful.
I would just hate to be her boyfriend.
I know. I cannot imagine.
Oh my!
Not never dinner, never food.
Oh no! You just beat the fuck out of her during sex. Hit me in the face! You're being too kind, you pussy asshole!
My hands hurt.
Hit me again, you fucking bitch! Hit me again!
So those types of women that tie up their titties, like with
I
the
hate
ropes
that.
and all that.
I hate that.
I don't mind it.
I don't
but
like the
that's fine.
clothespins on the titties either. I don't like that.
You know, like I just like titties.
Just show me boobies.
I like it when a girl makes their titties out to be like a 1920s pair of underwear just hanging around in a string outside of a Brooklyn apartment building. It's hot. But that's kind of bizarre that they had this relationship with the Nazis, because didn't we discuss earlier that love is what's supposed to save us from these alien beings? I mean,
it's true.
The most hateful people in history are Nazis.
Because their idea is that what they want to do, they say, is that the alien races that are against humankind are trying to keep us from evolving. Because the more we evolve, the more of a player we'll be in the galactic game. You know, it's like because they're also saying all these.
Why don't they just bust out now and just eat us if it's all about food?
Because you know what? They love our TV.
Is that what it's all about? They love the reruns on TV Land?
Yeah,
Can't get enough of those green
it's like
anchors.
whenever racists say, like, you know what? All I love about them Chinese is their food and their women.
Yeah.
Same thing with the aliens.
Okay. There is no accurate. No one ever says, why don't they just take us?
Right.
You know,
right.
everyone, it's always just kind of being like, they're doing this and it's urgent and the change is coming and all this stuff.
Right.
But there's a lot of people saying that what they're doing is it's an end game. And that, like, also the way, that the people like the Greys and the people like the Giza intelligence, the people that originally were helping the Nazis build rockets and stuff like that, which are Pleiadians underneath Egypt.
Okay.
And that there's a lot of people who believe that these people are the hostile aliens are working alongside corrupt governments in order to create the NWO, and that a part of what the NWO.
And this was with Steve Nash.
Yes.
And whatever the other.
Razor Ramon.
Razor Ramon. I think the 1-2-3 Kid is a part of it.
But these are the same people that believe that, because part
Kevin
of the
Nash.
New World Order and the Illuminati and all that, like their supposed end game is that they're supposed to destroy 6/7 of the human population in order to more easily rule over us, and that what the alien connection is that they're just going to give that 6/7 of the human population to the aliens as a slave race, and that the Aldebarans and the Venusians are doing everything to stop them, but the only people that can actually stop them is human beings stepping forward and taking control of our own evolution. And not using any shortcuts from an alien race. And instead, like, listen to groovy tunes, stop hating gay people, and just fly to Mars on a dream, man. Right. Get a flying carpet together out of hugs and rainbows and take it to fucking Pluto. And this is what I'm saying.
You know what? I'm down for it.
Sometimes if I'm listening to electric guitar, sometimes I can just imagine the notes coming off the guitar. And you just hop on a bass clef and you just silver surf your way to fucking Andromeda, man.
It sounds wonderful. What a beautiful existence that would be.
I can't wait to smoke some weed.
I know.
Man.
My brain
God, I've
feels
been
like
waiting all day. It's like, okay, just waiting to, like, after last podcast, I can get blazed and
we
do
literally
cowmen.
can do 4 more episodes trying to decipher what it is. So again, this is just so I would just say look it up for yourself. Look up Alex Collier.
Google it up.
Look up the Giza intelligence. Look up
Send in your
the
theories,
Alpha
your
Draconans.
questions. Yeah.
Well, here's a bit of Satanist news before we get out of here, though.
Very good.
Luigi.
I'm certainly it was logical and very nice.
It actually is. And it makes a very good point. Luigi Luigi and Angie Bellaviste have had their Vote Satan signs stolen from their Colorado front porch, an act they'd like to be considered a hate crime.
Hey, all right.
Here's a quote. Had that been the Star of David or a verse from the Quran that got damaged by somebody against those beliefs, that would certainly be considered a hate crime.
That's really true.
You know what?
That's something.
It's a double standard.
It's a big double standard.
And that ain't right.
Yeah, it said their front lawn also is home to an upside-down cross, fake spiders, the number 666, and some skulls. Neighbors say the Bellaviste's beliefs don't really bother them and suspect the sign was just stolen by some rascally kids.
I think it's pretty awesome.
They're like, you know, the thing about them is they're very quiet and they're a lot of fun around Halloween, so we don't really bother them.
They are. I'm sure they're the best around Halloween. All right, we got to get them. I think bong water is smarter than me right now.
Yeah, I
certain.
am drenched.
I know, we're so hot. We got.
But yeah, just so you know, don't trust an alien.
Don't trust an alien.
Your alien. This is big and purple, and it's helping our government. All right.
That's right. But don't shake its hand.
Don't shake its hand. All right. Just look out.
Diseases.
But that's again. That's what we're saying. 30,000 kids go missing in Westchester County every year, and a lot of it is people saying it's draconians coming from the depths and stealing our children. So if you see anyone with the ridged cheeks,
That's right. They come dressed as clowns.
Fucking slice their throat open.
Yeah.
Maybe. You never know when you're going to get one.
It could be pimples. It could be ridges.
You know, it's an odds game.
Fucking just, shoot first, ask questions later when it comes to draconians.
Absolutely. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Henry.
Magustalations.
Magustalations.
Whoa.
Moo Moo goes to choo choo.
Moo Moo goes to choo choo.
Yes.
Don't forget about how the choo choo goes. Moo Moo.
It goes Moo Moo when it's a cow train.
Oh, that's good.
And it's Old Draconin Sia says a bunch of cows for meat. That's all they are. It's just meat and milk. That's all they want from us.
Okay, yes.
Good. We got it.
Goodbye. Comedy Radio is brought to you by AdamandEve.com. Input the code CCR at checkout for discounts.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
I think it's a human problem. I think the problem that's going on right now is that humans just gotta go.
Yeah.
Humans are the issue.
Yeah, we're not doing too good.
It's not so much guns. It's just fucking human brains.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we're good to go? All right, that's Marcus. I'm Ben. Welcome to the show. With us as always, we've got that guy over there.
I think that it's important to see when in certain times that are happening right here in the country.
That's right. Little shake.
I'm trying to do Ted Koppel.
Was that Ted Koppel?
That's a Ted Koppel.
That's Ted Koppel?
Oh, it's unfortunate.
Well, just say some
It's an
information.
unfortunate event that happens in the country at certain periods of time on the third week of April. Happy birthday, Hitler. It's good to see you.
Ted, you've certainly changed.
Oh, I love to smoke weed and celebrate Hitler's birthday.
Wow, retirement has really got your brain all different.
Yeah, have a margarita when I wake up in the morning. I'm Ted Koppel.
So it's
Ted Koppel.
The weed has made you respect Hitler more.
No, that's what's happened to me. Henry Zebrowski.
That's Hong Kong Henry Zebrowski.
Man, Ted Koppel impersonation. It's just weird to start the whole thing with it.
I thought it was a great impersonation.
Is that good?
I'm fine with it.
I'm gonna get on SNL.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
no,
get
no,
there.
No, you did.
Lorne, you need a 400-pound man. Is that it? Is that good?
Yeah, no, he's going to love it.
That's Ted Koppel on one of the Was Up commercials. Man, he was sorely needed. Is he dead?
No, not
Ted
yet.
Koppel, no.
I mean, just on the
Do they
inside.
even wheel him out for special events anymore?
No, I think he mostly stays at home. He had quite a scandal go on. But, of course, he was big in the news. And the news media this week, it's been full of gaffes, bloopers, and it's been a real shit show. CNN completely messed up the Boston Marathon bombing, and that's what we're going to start off
CNN,
with today.
fuck the whole thing. Basically, we were going to come at you with, and I know that I was excited as much as other people were excited to do some coverage on alien implants and various butt rape made by aliens in space because it's fun, because it's nice to read about, because it's what's really going on.
And the kids love it.
The kids love it.
Yeah.
But
But
what's
much like-
coming down to is that, but now, thanks to our news media, we have to cover what's
We must.
happened.
And aliens will be butt raping, and aliens will be, getting rednecks, picking them up in the sky for a very, very long time. So we'll
Same
definitely
time,
have
though,
time to get to aliens.
We've got the government making stuff like the Boston Marathon explosion happening in order to cover up what's really going on.
Which is?
Aliens butt raping the Harlem Globetrotters.
Really?
The Harlem Globetrotters are right now, they are being terrorized by aliens.
This sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode that got denied.
Yeah,
That's
because
pretty
of all
great.
the rape in it.
Who
That
was it?
like-
They
that
take
was-
off the mask, and it's an alien wearing an alien mask?
Yeah, and he's got a big hard dick, and so he's like, ruh-roh, and then it's just like fucking face fucks. Fucking Scooby, what's his name? Yeah, Scooby, right?
Scooby-Doo.
Does he have a kangaroo pouch?
No, he's a
No,
dog.
he's a dog.
He's a dog.
Dogs
Yeah,
don't
they
have them.
Oh, I
Not
always
even
get
Great Danes.
confused.
You know, it's interesting. CNN covered the story so poorly that it almost makes Alex Jones covering the story so poorly seem better.
So
You know?
I know that you guys covered some of the straight information on Top Hat.
Yeah.
Recently. So we are now today
Although
is
I'm fairly certain we pinned it on Sasquatch.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we...
So today it's 420. First of all,
I'm so stoned. I want to
oh
cookie.
yeah,
Nah.
International Pussy Eating Day.
Is that right?
yeah, bong hits.
You know what? I want some weed instead. That would be nice.
So it's 420. Last night, in the wee hours of the 9 o'clock in the nighttime, we saw them, the orchestrated theater of law enforcement, go and capture the final refugee. What's his name? With the 19-year-old.
His name is Dzhokhar Tsarnaev.
Oh yes, he's Klingon.
Yes, he does sound like a
Drakhar.
Yeah.
Karkar.
And his brother who was killed was named Tamerlan.
Tamerlan. Well, that's kind of a nice
Tamerlan.
name.
Yeah.
So he
It's like a festival place that might have roller coasters. Tamerlan.
Tamerlan.
That's nice.
Yeah, get a funnel cake
Go down
and
there.
fucking blow up some runners.
Oh,
I
don't like that other part. I don't like that other part.
So
I'm
the
here
bus.
for the elephant ears. You can imagine there's just some super fat guy in Boston sucking down one of those ho-hos that he got while watching the marathon, and just like a piece of like glass or a nail landed on. He's
Some ruined my hoagie.
like, my hoagie.
My hoagie.
It is terrible.
Yeah.
They should have just more baseball games. That's what I say. Less fighting, more baseball
Up
games.
the baseball games.
Boston was an absolute horror show. It was if it was written by Sam Raimi or what's the other fella, George Romero. Everyone was on lockdown all day yesterday while they were hunting for this guy.
Meanwhile, we have basically while we were reading it, it's like you got your lamestream news media.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's
We're
not
looking
lame-
at
that's a Sarah
the
Palin line.
lamestream. We're
Come
looking at the New York Times, liberal rag. You know what I mean? And they're out there. They're trying to be responsible with their news sources.
Right.
They're fucking not making snap judgments like a bunch of pussies.
Mm-hmm.
When I go on Infowars.com, I get the hard, straight, fucking real info.
He's got a lot
Alex
of time.
Jones
Yep.
is on the front lines out there.
By the
and
way-
he's digging in.
Yeah, and he's given that real concrete speculation.
Oh, yeah.
The largest conspiracy theory that I discovered this week, though, after Googling Alex Jones quite a bit, there is not one website that doesn't claim that he was born in 1974. He pretends to be 39 years old.
He's got really good people.
There is no way Alex Jones is 39 years old.
I think that his hairpiece is 39 years old.
Yes, because he got that at 23.
It was Sammy Davis Jr.'s.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, for a long time. He retired it, and then he picked it up.
I didn't know you could get secondhand hairpieces.
Oh, yeah, especially from people of different races than you.
Isn't that something?
It's very easy.
What kind of race do you want to get? A nice little Asian wig?
No, Pocahontas.
Ah, that's beautiful. You're going to be
Full
gorgeous.
Pocahontas braid.
Well, I would love to be John Smith and be with you always. So what was Alex Jones talking about?
Okay, so first of all, like back in the day, like when this first started, 4chan started a big campaign, like surveying a bunch of surveillance footage, and pointed out these various people wearing, like one wearing a hat with various insignias on it, and
A
carrying
skull like the
backpacks.
Punisher wore.
Yes, and he said that the 4chan made a big deal about it. Infowars hopped on and were like, "These are the suspects." Then the Post pushed those pictures that they found on 4chan. They put it on the fucking front page. It's like a bunch of morons. And ruin everything.
If you were not Irish white and you were wearing a backpack at the Boston Marathon,
They were
4chan
up
took
your
a
ass.
picture of you.
But at the same
and
time,
you were
it's
a possible
the
bomber.
Boston Police Department. They already were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Anybody who was brown there to begin with, there was 9 of them.
Yeah.
That weren't runners.
Well, you better be
at the
running
front of the pack.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because that's the thing is, like, they're beating everyone in the marathon. You got a couple people from Kenya. They're destroying everybody, and then they get in a helicopter and get the fuck out of Boston.
Well, I think that's why people from Kenya do so well at the New York City Marathon and the Boston Marathon. They're just legitimately terrified of the NYPD and the Boston cops.
Yeah, so
like,
they're
we just got to get
they're
the fuck
booking
out
it.
of here. As
Yeah.
soon as we're like done with this race, we get back on the plane and we go to the safe haven of Ethiopia.
Well, absolutely, because cops are looking at him, going like, give him the eye, like pointing at him, like I'm watching you, you know, and like. And
White, you better be here for sport. You better
Yeah.
be here for sports. That's the only way. That's
Because
the only
he's-
time we like you.
Most of the time he's training, he's got a bag of sausages tied to his ankle, and he's running through the jungle.
Think about that.
He's got tigers coming after him.
Yeah, exactly. That's
You know, so these people are used to danger. That's why they're making record times.
they're doing
You know?
amazing.
But so where the conspiracy started, again, it was a horrible national tragedy.
Yeah.
Moment of
Yeah,
silence. I'm going to put that out there as well.
We did
But
it,
I
yeah.
think that what happened here was a very useful event for our government to show just how powerful they are. I think that's what this turned into. And so Infowars kind of hopped on the 4chan like suspect wrangling. It turned out to not be the suspects, of course, because then the guy who got his leg blew off like pinned the guys who actually did it because they found the surveillance footage that showed them dropping off the bag, blah blah blah. But
course,
with
Rupert Murdoch made quite a little goof because he put that on the cover of the Post, which was amazing.
Yeah, and then the idea was that what they found with these surveillance photos is that they were actually a part of a privatized military group called the Kraft. And now the Kraft,
Not to be confused with the 1996 movie starring Fairuza Balk.
that I mercifully jerked off to.
Oh, so much. So these guys can't turn their hair different colors by just waving their hands over it?
really can't.
Oh, these guys are worthless and weak.
Absolutely,
They
yeah,
can't. They couldn't plan a bomb.
Light is a feather, stiff as a board. Life is a feather, stiff as a
Oh,
board.
I love that. You just go rock hard.
Oh, yeah, that's
Was
what
on
I
the-
did. I already was, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't need that.
We used to play that. That reminds me of a memory in 8th grade. We played that game, and everyone was getting lifted up and stuff. And then I did it, and then they couldn't lift me up.
Yeah,
so
you
then magic
break
wasn't real.
magic.
Yeah, it was sad.
There's
yeah.
a weight limit on that spell.
yeah.
But basically,
Every time I
find
go
out-
into an elevator, I'm just like, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and just hope it raises up.
they found out that these were a part of a top secret military, sort of like Blackwater, which was
Not
like this.
that top secret.
No, because they have a website that we
They have
will
a
read about. Let's
website,
read
they
the
have a uniform, and they have an insignia and a logo.
and their logo is surrounded by their motto: "No matter what your mama tells you, violence does solve problems."
Yes, and I mean, to their point, it does.
Yeah, and this is from thecraft.com/aboutus.html. Thank you for choosing Craft International to meet your training needs.
I want to find them on How About We. How about we go blow up the Boston Marathon?
As a military or law enforcement professional, we understand your time is valuable. We are honored to be able to share with you the lessons learned from our instructors, whom have walked in similar paths as yourself, and some of whom continue to still do so today.
Lonely men.
Through these lessons, experiences, in-depth studies, pain/sweat/tears, and in some cases, blood.
They're murderers.
They have set forth a curriculum rooted in solid fundamentals that have been time-tested and proven under a variety of operational conditions.
MK Ultra, my friend.
Our goal with our courses is to do one thing: make you better by giving you the skills necessary to dominate your opponent and win. It's never about what we have done and where we have been, only how well we can articulate it all to you. We strive to be true teachers and not merely instructors. We are humbled to be a part of your continuing search and refinement of your chosen craft. Thank you for your continued service, dedication, and associated sacrifices made in protecting the great nation at home and abroad. Respectfully, Chris
This
Kyle,
is a very
President,
long-running sentence.
Craft International.
Like, who even edited this website?
I
But I
believe
think
the,
that
the last sentence of that should be, this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Yes, but it's like they are. No one's talking about these. This group of people that were at the marathon. I honestly don't think they have anything to do with the fucking bombing whatsoever. But what they're talking about is that what they said, which was broken on Infowars, about this idea that they were constantly reminding people in the crowd that there was a drill going on. There was some kind of bomb drill,
Right.
which is again. I mean, it's normal because
It's a fairly common thing to do.
It's extremely common.
It's a perfect environment to train people because
Right.
you have all these, like, you have your bomb dogs, you have all this stuff that you want to do, and it's the perfect environment.
By the way, if they did have bomb dogs, that's your last day on bomb dog duty.
I think so.
How don't you find 2 bombs? I think there were 7 bombs.
Yeah, we're cutting all of them. It's
Get
like, what
outta
is this?
here.
It's the Bad News Bears of bomb dogs.
Yeah.
So these fucking this ragtag group of bomb dogs
Yeah,
who
it's
decided to come and pulled something together for the fucking championship game.
One dude
Boys,
just-
we came out of here to win the big game, and you blew it.
you blew it. One dude
That
just
little boy is dead.
because of you, Roscoe. Because of you. What? One dude just brought his fucking wife's chihuahua because she was like, he'll be great at sniffing out bombs. Bring him. He just had to bring the chihuahua.
But they pulled a lot. Infowars kind of covered all this. Basically, the idea they ran the major storyline that it was a false flag operation in order to get our guns taken away from us.
Yes.
In order for Barack Obama to create the NWO, so it can come down there and we won't be able to defend ourselves against